Get ready, because you and I are about to meet a fan obsessed with a very strange simulation game. The goal was to train a weak demon queen to make her invincible, but a new expansion drove every single player wild. This new update let you control a despicable blonde guy to completely corrupt the little demon queen's pure path. The moment our protagonist found out, he ran online to join the massive outrage against the game developers. Suddenly, a blinding white light erupted from his screen and sucked him in completely. Opening his eyes, the massive building in front of him looked so familiar it sent shivers down his spine. No time to react, an elegant butler appeared, addressing him with deep respect as the Honorable Lord Nan, and that's when he recognized him. It was Kane, the faithful butler from the game's prologue. Once inside the mansion, Kane repeated his exact script, bowing with deep respect before Nan. I never imagined anyone would agree to tutor our demon queen. Please accept my deepest gratitude for this. Now pay attention here, because this is the exact moment he realizes he is actually reincarnated into the game. Meanwhile, in the private chambers, the maids dress the tiny ruler, who is trembling with fear about meeting her new teacher. One maid tried to calm her nerves, gently telling her to always hold her head high. Nobody could ever hate such a cute little thing. Moments later, Nan walked in to meet Seer. Seer used to be the sole heir of the second most powerful demon king in the entire realm. Devastating war claimed the lives of both her father and his loyal allies. So at just 5 years old, she had to assume the throne, and her entire family lost their power, crashing to 72nd place in the rankings. At this rate, even her precious royal title would completely disappear very soon. Just as Nan prepared to show his respect, Seer ran right up and bowed with absolute seriousness. Please, speak completely freely, master. Just treat me as your student, not as some grand demon queen. Nan, completely melted by her cute little face, gently patted her head and promised to protect her. I'm going to make you the greatest demon queen in history. But the second he gets back to his room, pure panic hits. What did he just do? Did he really agree to tutor her? Honestly, I bet you and I would do the exact same thing if we knew every single secret here. Clicking choices with a mouse is one thing, protecting a flesh and blood person is a whole different story. Worse yet, he has zero magic skills. How can he guide her? He actually planned on politely rejecting the job. Maybe he got swept up seeing her in person, or maybe he knew the terrible fate that was waiting for her. Nan tries to think of an escape plan. A golden flash of energy suddenly lights up his eyes. Instantly, memory fragments from the original owner of this body come flooding into his head. Absorbing these memories, Nan realizes he used to be a terrifyingly powerful demon. That changes everything. With that kind of power on his side, there is no reason to shake anymore. He can save Seer and get that happy ending. The very next morning, Nan takes Seer out to the garden to officially begin her lessons. Studying outside was way more fun and active. Then Nan notices the little stuffed bear she is holding tightly. He had never seen this item in any of his playthroughs. When asked, Seer shyly confesses it is her only friend. Nan immediately senses that this toy hides a painful secret he will definitely need to look into later. We will start our first day mastering the basics of mana control. But what about demon history? The little girl asks. Kane had forbidden her from using magic before finishing all her theory books. Her new master calmly explains that Kane's rules are absurd. She must master her own strength first, so they will prioritize physical training, military combat, and the true arts of royalty. Seer loves this plan, though she proudly boasts she has already completely mastered the theory of royal leadership. She really knew all that. Nan wondered why she was still so submissive, so he snapped his fingers with a smirk. In that case, let's skip straight to real practice. Theory is useless if you don't apply it. With that, Nan hands her a special training journal. This diary will shape her royal character, and completing her daily tasks earns her a delicious pudding reward. And trust me, you and I both know that a little affection changes absolutely everything. Alright, let's dive in and see how this tutor flips the script. Back in class, Nan explained that mana capacity is locked in at birth, building up directly inside the core. So what actually determines how much magic someone can realistically unleash? Demons, half-breeds, and dragons all have magic circuits. Did Seer even know what these pathways were for? Seer answered yes right away, explaining they channel mana. Nan nodded, pleased to see she was spot on. These circuits act as paths. The more active channels you have, the more raw power can surge through. Meaning your usable magic relies entirely on active circuits. Nan smiled warmly, praising her for being so clever. You are a quick learner. Mana is fixed, but you can expand your circuits through sheer relentless effort. In a split second, the concentrated energy in Nan's hand blasted straight up into the heavens. With vast mana and trained circuits, you can unleash a massive wave of raw power in a single heartbeat. Witnessing this incredible display, Kane stood completely frozen, silently watching the whole thing from the corner. This level of power went far beyond any ordinary low-rate tutor. Kane realized that under Nan's guidance, Seer would become absolutely unstoppable. Before long, whispers that the Demon Queen Seer had hired a mentor began spreading like wildfire across the underworld. Still, the high-ranking demon lords, especially those sitting comfortable around rank 60, could not care less. Close attention here, because for some, this boring news was actually incredibly interesting. One of those was rank 71, sitting right above Sia. Meanwhile, our little queen was totally determined to finish Nan's task, so she went off to find the maid she trusted the most. Putting on a stern face, Seer demanded she start cleaning immediately. This sudden aggressive attitude left the poor maid completely baffled. She was already cleaning, using magic casual as you like. Right then, the maid spotted the training diary held tightly in Seer's tiny hands. Instantly realized the tutor made her practice acting like a true ruler. So she happily decided to play along. I will clean with absolute devotion, my queen. Seeing her command work perfectly, Seer was absolutely thrilled. Spun around, declaring it was class time, while the maid quietly smiled at how adorable she was. This is just too cute. Soon after, Seer skipped back to Nan, humming a cheerful little tune. With a massive grin, she proudly announced that her assignment was officially complete. Nan rewarded her with a toy just like her favorite white bear, making Seer's eyes sparkle with pure joy. Suddenly, she glanced over at the butler nearby. Jane was standing there with a deeply serious frown. Disappointed, Seer lowered her head and mumbled that she did not really need the gift anyway. I know what you are thinking. The real issue here was the castle budget, exactly like in the game. They had to pinch pennies even for a toy, leaving Nan with no choice but to step in himself. Nan knelt before her and gently asked if she would let him temporarily manage the castle's entire treasury. Looking at her utterly confused expression, Nan knew she did not grasp the massive weight of this request. Then turned to the butler, telling him not to take offense, since everyone simply has different strengths. So please, just let me handle what I do best. Soon I will make Seer surpass all other demon lords. As he spoke, the little girl shyly grabbed his coat, cutely begging him to make tons of money for everyone living in the castle. Nan smiled. Him was the right move, since a literal gold mine was about to knock on their door. After that, Nan kept teaching her mana control. Raw capacity defied all imagination. 22nd ranked Demon Queen, sitting right at the bottom, this level of potential was unheard of. Nan would not have to worry about her progress. He wanted to push her harder, but Seer's stamina was incredibly low. Ordered her to rest before starting physical training. Long after, Seer started running to build up her endurance. As she ran while hugging her stuffed bear, Nan took the chance to ask the butler why she was so attached. Jane revealed that it was a special gift from the previous lord for her 5th birthday. It was essentially her only memory of her late father, which is why she kept it close at all times. Changed everything. Only when she is strong enough for revenge will he reveal the truth. Will you join me to see her evolution? All right. Pay attention, because you and I are jumping in just as Seer's servant delivers a message from floor 71. Floor 71, they want to demand now. Queen's absolute terror was completely justified here. In this brutal underworld, a single rank difference meant a massive canyon in power, armies, and sheer wealth. There was absolutely no need to panic, since this was the exact opportunity Nan was waiting for. Very soon, the day finally arrived for the ruler of floor 71 to show up. Just as Nan predicted. Even the carriage driver leading the way was no ordinary beast. Moments later, Citri, the great queen of floor 71, stepped out of her luxury carriage. Nan bowed his head to show proper respect, while Citri stared back at him with massive interest. Wow, you actually saw through Baphomet's disguise. You are definitely not normal, she remarked as Nan calmly replied. Would an ordinary guy mentor a demon king? Citri smirked. What an incredibly fascinating guy. And he was totally right. Jane was absolutely horrified. Under the underworld's strict laws, how did Nan dare to act so arrogant to a superior? Watch closely here. Nan directly asks her why she came, immediately triggering a freezing wave of pure impatience. Can we not speak inside? She demanded. I'm afraid not, unless you have a real reason. This is Lady Seer's territory, and with her legendary status, she cannot just walk into another ruler's domain without a proper invitation. Citri's royal pride shattered instantly. Was a lowly servant actually looking down on her right now? In the past, no servant would ever dare. Following her rising fury, Citri decided to state the reason for her visit. Ruler of Floor 71, I have crucial matters to discuss with the sovereign of Floor 72. In that moment, her driver realized the trick and was using Citri's own status to prove Seer was a legitimate queen, commanded her loyal subordinate, Baphomet. Wait out here. This will not take very long. Nun guided her to the main hall. Sitting down, Citri asked with pure disgust, when is that little girl coming? I have urgent financial matters to handle. And she stared at Nan. Why do you have that cocky attitude anyway? Are you trying to seduce me with that confidence? I'm the economy here, so talk business with me. Citri laughed inside, simply could not look away. Honestly, men in this world were just way too predictable, and she demanded, during the human adventurers' raid, my troops took heavy losses while defending your 72nd floor. Because of that, I demand massive compensation and payment for my soldiers. And immediately asked her, was sticking your nose in our business your own brilliant idea or whose? Mine, of course, Citri mocked. Know what you are thinking. Will he stay quiet? Absolutely not. Nan looks at her and calls her total trash. Citri's face instantly darkened. What did you just say? Nan knew damn well she had heard him perfectly fine. The woman actually had the nerve to demand money while acting all high and mighty with her rank. Immediately, an enraged Citri slammed her foot down, shattering the teacup. Insane. Nan remained completely unfazed. Really getting this mad just because I called you trash. Effortlessly tanking her terrifying pressure, Nan raised his hand to protect his kneeling servant. You forced useless troops on a defenseless queen and now expect payment. Not make you absolute garbage, then what does? Citri's intense rage finally boiled over. Insolence has no bounds. You brought this on yourself. The next second, a lethal strike flew straight at Nan's face. Nan honestly wanted to settle this quietly and let her keep some dignity. Now the game was changing completely. The man simply snapped his fingers in the air. The raging flames about to burn him vanished instantly. Citri jumped up while Nan spoke with absolute calmness. You're civilized demons, why not talk this out? I actually have a very tempting offer for you. Nobody like you offers me nothing. Yes, I do, because you cannot refuse. It is about the seal holding you back. You once held the 12th seat, but your power crashed from that restriction. You only came here to repeat what everyone already knows. Then get the hell out of here, Nan continued. Not invade upper floors. Because the runestone sealing your power is hidden in a territory ruled by a mid-rank demon, or someone even higher, so why not make a deal? I will help you shatter the chains binding your power. Stared in disbelief, and how do you plan to do that? And just stared right at her. I've already seen a tiny glimpse of my true strength. And that wraps it up. Citri signs the deal, totally clueless that you and I will soon see Nan dominate everything. You and I are about to see how this crazy alliance benefits both sides, especially with Nan's terrifying power. That was just 1/10 of his actual power. Then betting everything on him was absolutely worth the risk. The moment Nan signed the contract, both their blood began to seep right into the parchment, binding them to every single term without exception. There was no going back now. Nan stared directly at Ciri. Ciri, from today on, Her Majesty Citri is on our side. Immediately thanked her with deep, absolute sincerity. Thank you, Lady Citri. Don't mention it, she replied. Get along, kid. But suddenly Nan's gaze turned completely ice cold. We are allies now, yet you dare call her a kid. Seems Her Majesty Citri needs a lesson in basic manners. Citri had no choice but to buckle under his intense pressure. Fine, you don't need to teach me anything. I'll behave. Let's get along, Lady Sierra. Nan smirked. You're actually pretty good at this when you try. You should have spoken like that from the start. Now let me explain exactly how we'll fulfill our mutual agreement. From this moment on, Her Majesty Citri will also be my student. Immediately irritated the Demon Queen. What nonsense are you talking about? Nan stayed calm. I know you were once legendary among demon kings, ordinary ruler with mediocre power and incredibly limited influence, bottom-tier status, and a presence so weak people are forgetting you. Instantly twitched in anger. Did you really have to go that far? You're the one who begged for my help, so why the attitude? Now pay close attention here, because this is where it gets crazy. Nan knew she thought she'd hit her limit and could only regain her sealed power. Let me guarantee you this. Even right now, you still have the chance to become way more powerful. Citri endlessly searched for that lost strength, growing more powerful throughout this grueling journey and remaining Seer's loyal ally. Citri coldly warned him not to joke, but Nan answered completely unfazed. Never joke about something this serious. Anyway, we must start honoring our deal. You may head back home for today. Visit when you have time, Citri. You want me to come to you. I'm a demon queen. You should visit me. Suddenly, Seer hugged Nan tightly, claiming him as her master. Just shrugged his shoulders in resignation. You heard her, my hands are tied. That once a week would do. Nan nodded. He noticed something and demanded to know what it meant. You implying I'll be the one eager to see you again? Who knows? I know what you're thinking. Things look great, but massive problems were still lurking ahead. Days later, Nan informed the Demon Queen that he couldn't continue tutoring her for now. He was too busy reorganizing Seer's troops, leaving him with zero free time, so he asked Citri to assist him directly. Then Nan looked over at Seer and told her he had one last slightly crazy request. You'll deliver the final blow. Greetings, Commander Al. The warrior stared intensely at Nan. Lord Mentor, what brings you here with Her Majesty? Looks as adorable as ever today. Nan replied that they came to check out Seer's future swordsmanship training ground while settling a few matters. Vice Commander Varuna couldn't help but question if establishing military command was just a minor side task to him. Nan replied with absolute coldness that maintaining that level of military order should be obvious. Lord Varuna, the vice commander froze, intrigued. Have you actually led troops before, Lord Nan? No offense. Uniting factions is never easy. Nan calmly asked him if it really seemed that complicated. Watch me then. Immediately, Nan led them straight to the training grounds. Commander Varuna was highly capable and loyal, but his absolute devotion belonged solely to young Seer. Because of this, Nan planned to use this chance to force his obedience. Taking the initiative, he extended his hand immediately. A pleasure to meet you, Lord Ensalon. I am Ciri's mentor. He coldly replied that he already knew. You took Her Majesty Citri from us, right? Nan didn't bother to deny it. That's right, and it was correct. When you had nowhere to go, I took you in. Hearing that, Ensalon furiously roared if being a mentor gave him the right to talk however he pleased. Facing such insolence, Nan tightened his grip. The next second, Ensalon yanked his hand back, groaning in agonizing pain. Nan coldly demanded respect, reminding him who he serves. And that's how we leave it, with our main character in total control. All right, you and I are diving right into a soldier, arrogantly challenging the master training his new lady boss. Are you insulting Her Majesty Citri? And stared back calmly, daring him to face the cold, hard truth. Your only master is no longer Citri. It is Lady Seer, and she is standing right here. Messalin looked at Seer and could not help finding her adorable, but that was not the point now. Gritting his teeth, he insisted his only mistress was Citri. Nan simply gave a slow nod. You have guts, but since you insist on clinging to the past, you leave me no other choice. Nan raised his hand instantly and unleashed his gravity magic, slamming everyone flat onto the floor. Even Vice Commander Varuna felt the suffocating pressure threatening to crush his entire body to pieces. Nan coldly warned them he has no use for disobedient servants, leaving them to surrender or vanish today. Would they choose a new future? Messalin resisted the heavy pressure, declaring his loyalty belonged to Citri alone. Watch closely right here, because Nan snapped his fingers with complete satisfaction. That loyalty might actually be useful. Nan released the gravity, and Citri immediately began scolding them furiously. You fools, why do you keep disobeying and causing trouble when you know Seer and I are allies? Lady One argued that pact is just paper. Citri coldly cut him off, telling him to shut up. This is a real alliance that I will uphold. This pact is crucial for the devastating war coming our way. They all bowed their heads immediately, apologizing for their complete lack of respect toward her. I told you I am not your queen. Read it. Whose soldiers are you now? They answered in unison. We are Lady Seer's army. Their sudden obedience shocked everyone, while Nan watched Citri with approval. If he had stepped in sooner, this would have been way easier. Seeing Nan's gesture, Seer also gave Citri a thumbs up. With the conflict resolved, the training was ready to begin. Before starting the lesson, Nan gently asked Seer to wait nearby for just a moment. Seer's tiny hands clung tightly to his clothes, completely refusing to let him go. I know exactly what you are thinking. This sweet, clingy moment is the most adorable thing ever. There was truly no convincing her, so Nan gently lifted her up onto his shoulders. Watching this, Citri could not help but feel annoyed, asking if they were really starting like this. And exactly do we begin? Nan calmly replied not to rush. This is how they would train today. Instantly, Nan began unleashing a mana so dense and overwhelming it seemed to darken the sky completely. Nan lightly explained that the rule was simple. If she managed to hit him just once, she passed. Citri thought it was a ridiculous joke, highly doubting that such a basic exercise would help at all. Do not worry, the brutal intensity of this training will completely exceed all your expectations. The very next second, an immense pressure slammed down on Citri, forcing her straight to her knees. Looking down at her, he coldly declared that he was now vastly stronger than she ever was. So try to break free from my spiritual pressure and find a way to strike me right now. The sheer power pinned her down, stopping her from speaking. But Nan knew making her strong was vital for Seer's future. Strength mattered greatly, but with Citri's absolute support, everything would be much smoother. She could expand her territory quickly. Nan kept provoking her. If this tiny fraction of power makes you tremble, how will you accomplish anything? If you feel insulted, just give up. Magic was sealed, required a mid-tier level of strength just to survive. If she wanted to escape alive, she first had to endure a highly destructive density of energy. Through this agonizing process, the vital energy channels in her body would naturally grow much stronger. Seer whispered anxiously from his shoulders that Citri was suffering too much, and Nan gave a calm nod. Very closely, because one day you will face this exact same hell. Flew by and night fell. After hours under that crushing pressure, Citri was completely drenched in sweat. Yet she refused to surrender, dragging her body forward inch by inch with nothing but raw willpower. And that is where we leave it today, proving she absolutely deserved her legendary rank of 12. Let's dive in and see how she adapts and crushes this brutal training way faster than anyone expected. Dinner. Seer begged Nan to teach her more. Even though they already had a lesson earlier that morning, pushed too hard she would collapse from pure exhaustion. But what master could resist eyes so full of desire to learn? Nan snapped his fingers. Instantly, the mana restriction binding Citri completely vanished. Nan calmly told her she could rest. Hearing that, Citri collapsed onto her back, desperately trying to catch her breath. Nan looked at Seer and asked what she had learned today. Seer answered that she learned to use environmental mana to cast powerful spells she could never pull off with just her own energy. Nan followed up, asking how she managed to capture that mana floating freely in the air. Seer thought innocently and replied she would ask for help. Nan smiled, asking how she planned to request that favor. You have never spoken with mana, but watch closely with me as our own energy communicates with it. First, release a tiny fraction of your power to make friends with the scattered mana floating around us, then guide it towards you. That way, you borrow their strength to unleash devastating magic. Nan stared intently at her. Want to try it now? Following his instructions, Seer reached her tiny hand out into the empty air. Soon, a faint magical glow sparkled at her fingertips. Nan nodded, telling her to draw it out slowly. In time, this entire display of power completely caught Citri's attention while she was resting. Citri froze. Mind-blowing power seriously belonged to a 7-year-old child. She had to protect this alliance at all costs. Surrounding energy began merging with Seer's power, and Nan instructed her to bring her magic back. Seer murmured that it felt strange, while Nan explained that this light was the energy floating around just moments ago. You cannot cast this massive spell alone, yet since your energy is limited, but let's try combining your power with the gathered mana. First, imagine a blazing fire glowing in your mind. Then let it out naturally, just like I showed you. Give it a shot. Suddenly, Citri rushed over to interrupt them. What kind of madness are you teaching her? That is an ancient spell believed to be lost. On the inside, Nan froze, having absolutely no idea what she meant. Nan calmly claimed that he naturally knew exactly what she was talking about. Citri pressed him on how he knew it, but he dodged the question, saying they had to finish class first. Nan focused back on Sia and told her to copy what he did. Under his guidance, the little girl slowly closed her eyes. Instantly, a name made of dancing flames appeared above her fingers. Nan quickly praised her with a gentle smile. It's incredible. Control mana like this in the future. So practice extracting and condensing it constantly. Got it. Meanwhile, Citri clenched her fists with obvious frustration right behind his back. But Nan already noticed her and warned that she could only attack him during training. Citri snapped back, highly annoyed. What are you talking about? I did not mean that. Could you actually teach me that ancient magic too? Nan refused immediately. Citri insisted she was also his student, but he remained completely unfazed. Here is where things get fun, as Nan saw the perfect chance to gain some extra perks. So he added that if their relationship became a little closer, he might actually consider it. Hearing about getting closer made the girl blush furiously. After struggling internally, she ended up gritting her teeth, anything to become stronger. Citri looked away and shyly asked what kind of girls he was into. Nan went silent for a second. I think our conversation is heading in two completely different directions. Not mean that, but rather the level of trust that must exist between floor 72 and 71. Citri froze in pure embarrassment. Is that what you meant? I've been way clearer from the start. Just forget I said anything. Meanwhile, Seer watched the whole scene in total confusion, not understanding a single thing. Nan finally headed back to his room to rest. Since the body Nan possessed belonged to a grand demon, he naturally mastered ancient spells effortlessly. Even inside the game, the true identity of this demon god was never actually revealed. It was described only as an ancient being from the distant past, boasting colossal power and wrapped in absolute mystery. But what worries Nan most is why this body keeps watching other demons. We are going to find out soon. You and I are about to see our clever lead dodge a massive headache. He already has way too many problems to deal with. He plans to solve them one by one, and right now expanding his territory is his top priority. It was too soon to raid the human world, and Layer 71 belonged to Citri, making it completely off limits. Layer 70 was ruled by Demon King Andro. If Nan teamed up with Citri, a golden opportunity would soon arrive. Nan called the commander for a meeting, but Seer insisted on tagging along with him anyway. Commander Al, thank you for coming, despite your busy schedule. The officer replied that his valuable insight was needed. Nan nodded, confirming he wanted to discuss territory expansion, and Al immediately understood the move. You mean taking Layer 70? Exactly, but it is hard. Even allied with Citri, we are heavily outmatched in power. Starting an all-out war, I strongly advise you to act with extreme caution. Now pay attention here. Nan handed over a report showing that avoiding a head-on clash would give them their shot. Exactly. So as commander, what do you think of this? Personally, I would say this is actually a pretty good card to play. Reading the report, Al concluded they could pull off a covert operation using elite stealth forces. They also needed to gather scattered soldiers into an independent legion to stop the constant infighting. Not only that, but it would ensure these new troops remained fiercely loyal to Her Majesty Seer. Once those soldiers realized Seer had built a whole new legion just for them, they would feel immense pride and devotion toward her. When Nan asked for Seer's thoughts, she accepted without hesitation. Shortly after, Citri caught wind of the news and decided to jump in to assist with the plan. She was still training hard under Nan's pressure when Seer came rushing down from her seat. Lay down right next to Citri, saying she wanted to train together so the hard work would feel lighter. Watching Seer act like this, Nan could not help but think she was truly an adorable child. Indeed, look at how gently Nan comforts little Seer because her favorite stuffed teddy bear had gotten all dirty. Promised her a quick wash would fix it, sweetly proposing they bathe together to make the toy like new. When took Seer away, Citri glanced at Nan, remarking that he seemed incredibly good with children, not habit, but that he always tried to help Seer slowly accept her true identity, so he acted accordingly. And he stared at Citri, blunt as ever, saying she also tended to act without thinking. Suggested pausing training to get right back to their unfinished conversation. You and I both know she has her own agenda. He agreed to help with Layer 70. though she knew he would never believe it was for Sia. Confessed she had been preparing for war long before this. Nan was left deep in thought. In the original timeline, this event happened much later. Interference triggered this terrible conflict ahead of schedule. With no reason to refuse, he straight up asked how she planned to help him. Citri frowned in annoyance. Calling him shameless, she demanded details. But once Nan shared his master plan, it left her absolutely frozen. "You want me to go and pick a fight first?" Emily replied she was quick to understand, as expected of Her Majesty. Citri narrowed her eyes, questioning why she should act as bait. But then Nan handed her some mysterious documents. Reading them, Citri immediately got the picture. Turned out Andro had publicly insulted Eren. This caused a massive rift between them. Eren is a major powerhouse on layer 70. I knew Andro was stupid, but not this bold. Eren's awful temper. He will never accept any apology. This is a total gift from above. Nan nodded and explained his plan to win Eren over by sending an official envoy to negotiate. Citri squinted. She already suspected who he would send, but instantly asked how they would split the profit. Nan calmly answered that they would split everything 50-50. "What do you think?" Citri was totally stunned, fully expecting him to demand a much bigger cut in this new deal. Casually replied that as allies, keeping their bond strong was worth whatever price they had to pay. "So what do you and I think?" Still found him highly suspicious. Without a care, Nan simply resumed the training session, casting his restriction spell as if nothing else mattered. Let's dive in and see Citri's face freeze up completely when he demands to continue this brutal training. That man was ruthless. Shortly after, Cain took Seer to clean her up, and she immediately ran off to find Nan. Nan picked her up right away. The obedient Seer and her teddy bear looked spotless, but he quickly noticed something very strange. "You somehow dye your hair red while I was not looking?" That was when Cain explained that the Devat clan is different from other demons. They store external mana in their hair, making them magical prodigies. Nan taught her how to use external mana that day. She apparently stored some of it quite naturally. Nan asked if using that mana would turn her hair back to normal, and Cain gave a half nod. In fact, the late Demon King stored so much external mana that over half of his hair turned bright red. Store that mana. Even now she could cast spells with a truly colossal amount of energy. Nan looked down at the little girl. "It looks like you will need to practice absorbing outside energy much more often now." Nan turned to Cain. "By the way, Cain, where is the commander right now?" Because on layer 70, Al is moving incredibly fast to slip past the sleeping elite. Those soldiers were much better trained than expected, but luckily they did not cause any real trouble at all. Before long, the secret squad successfully crossed the danger zone and gathered together in a nearby forest. One of the subordinates spotted a cabin in the distance and muttered that it did not look suspicious at all. When questioned, she replied that the Queen wants to dominate layer 70, and they need Eren's troops to do it. The subordinate doubted it was even possible, but she coldly replied that they were only soldiers. Their duty was simply to obey orders. Immediately, the group moved cautiously toward the distant cabin. Suddenly, a guard stepped in front of the entrance, ruining their plan, and coldly demanded their names. Al realized right away that this was one of Eren's men, someone highly skilled at his job. She introduced herself as an envoy of Queen Seer, and at that exact moment, Eren walked out. He immediately asked who was leading the group. Now watch closely as Al takes off her mask to reveal herself. The other side was completely shocked.
"Wait, are you Al? One of the legendary four swords of Sail?"
"Weren't you all supposed to be dead?" Calmly replied that she left that title behind years ago. "Now I am Queen Sarah's weapon." Eren stared at her, doubting if they would actually invade layer 70. "Do you really think that's possible?" Al didn't flinch. "Nothing is impossible. Citri and I are enough to defeat Andro." He smirked coldly at her absolute confidence. "Coming from you, I believe it. War is different. Even joining layers 71 and 72 won't beat 70. Isn't that why you looked for me? Desperately need a guide like me." Didn't show all their cards, but she could reveal one crucial detail. Not even 100 people of my level could scratch the one beside her. Eren was highly skeptical. "They say, in your prime, you had the power of a demon king." Looked like she was joking. He muttered darkly that if someone so colossal was backing them, then his help wasn't even needed at all. they could just wipe out all of layer 70. Al replied, "They didn't want to alert the upper levels over one zone. Still don't trust us. You are free to report this secret meeting directly to Andro, but if you do, you won't survive." Aaron stared at her, asking if that was a threat or just a test. "I would doubt anyone else, but I personally witnessed the immense power those 4 legendary swords hold." Al proposed crossing his territory with Layer 72's army to take down Andra, and he got the picture. "So Citri is coming to wreak havoc, right?" He nodded, confirming his suspicion. "Except you will get a title and a massive reward." Sealing the deal, Al reported their success to Nan. Nan praised her brilliant diplomatic work, though he warned her that they must prepare for battle immediately. That moment he noticed she was hesitating to speak, so he invited her to share her thoughts freely. After a brief silence, Al spoke honestly, respectfully asking the reason behind his strange decision. Why did he decide to guide young Queen Zir when someone of his level shouldn't hold such a humble position? Honestly, you and I can both see that with Nan's insane power, this seems like a huge waste of talent. All right, you and I are about to find out why someone so brilliant would choose the humble 72nd floor, something even Al can't grasp. "Do you fear my secret plan is to usurp the throne?" And bother to deny it, replying with a simple yes. "Cannot say the chances are 0, he thought. Confessed his actual reason. She would think he had completely lost his mind. Making up some cheap excuse wouldn't work either. Clearly was not someone who could be fooled so easily. Left with no other choice, he had to honestly confess why he had fallen head over heels for this very peculiar game. Demon Queen raised by his own 2 hands someone who used to be the weakest, most despised existence in the world. The day she rules this entire world is the most exciting thing there is, he explained, making Al knit her brows. "So you are doing all this just on a personal whim?" she asked. "First, yes, but now I really like this place. For starters, I love the adorable Queen Seer. And then there's Kane, our most loyal and trustworthy advisor and brilliant strategist. Leah has such a noble heart that I can trust her with every single internal affair of our castle without hesitation. Leslie is incredibly efficient at work and with people, while Mogul is easily one of the best chefs in existence. Vice Commander Varuna can be a bit rebellious at times, but when it comes to his immense loyalty and great skill, he is absolutely flawless. Now pay attention to our commander, a strong, brilliant, and stunningly beautiful woman. In short, I love this 72nd floor and its residents. This place matches my personal tastes in every possible way. No fear. As long as you do not abandon me, I will never betray you," Nan gently assured Al. "Thank you for answering such a disloyal question with total honesty," Al said, but Nan immediately corrected her. "Your true loyalty belongs to Seer, and you only asked me this for her own well-being, didn't you?" Al walked away. A warm feeling filled her chest, grateful that her queen had such noble people by her side. The next morning, Seer went to find Nan to play, but he was completely buried in reviewing the account books. Taking advantage of her presence, Nan decided it was the perfect moment to teach her a quick lesson on basic economics. Holding a document, Nan pointed out that the harvests were damaged after an invasion of human adventurers. It was a request for food aid since the people had nothing to eat, causing Seer to cry out that they must send food. "Still have meat and grain from last year in storage, but should we really hand it all out for free?" Seer shook her head and suggested donating a portion while selling the rest at an incredibly low, affordable price. Nan then asked what they would do if the farmers had absolutely no money to buy food right now. After thinking it over, Seer proposed that they could use a grain lending system instead, and borrow grain at incredibly low interest rates and return it after the harvest. Solve the hunger crisis without making it look like pure charity. Plus, the castle won't suffer any losses. Right at that moment, Leah walked in to greet them. "Pardon the interruption, but it is time for Her Majesty's snack," Leah announced, and Nan sent Seer off to eat, watching her face light up instantly. "I know what you're thinking. She really is the most adorable thing ever." However, just as Seer was about to leave, she stopped dead in her tracks and turned back to look at Nan. Then she flashed a completely innocent, radiant smile, inviting him to eat together. Leah was totally shocked, since the little queen never shared her food with anyone. Faced with such an offer, Nan had no choice but to join her and try the dessert she loved so much. It was obvious that Nan had won her complete trust, to the point where she shared her greatest, most precious treasure. Just then, the butler Kane approached with a very serious expression on his face, holding a mysterious letter. He informed Nan that the letter came from the 71st floor, and upon opening it, he saw everything was ready. Meanwhile, Andro, the demon king of the 70th floor, learned that the 71st floor had just declared war on him. Majesty, you must proceed with caution. And Andro immediately mocked. He is nothing but a clown with borrowed strength. But his subordinate warned him she was still a powerful demon queen. Even without her power, she is still cunning. Andro coldly asked if they were implying she was hiding some master plan. Who could I possibly fear? Andro asked. His subordinate replied that there were several highly dangerous possibilities. Word on the street is that the 71st and 72nd floors have formed an alliance. Thus, according to spies on the 70th floor, Citri has been frequently visiting the 72nd floor, proving they are working together. Andro sneered instantly, thinking how naive she was to declare war while relying on such a pathetically weak floor. Commander is one of the four swords of sail. What do you and I think will happen next? You and I can't ignore the crazy rumors that the 72nd floor's new mentor is no ordinary demon. Andrew snapped back immediately. This guy is so incredible. Why would he lower himself to mentor on the 72nd floor? The subordinate quickly explained that, according to reports, this mentor was the mastermind who convinced Queen Citri to join forces. Because of that, they had to launch a massive frontal assault right from the start, unleashing their overwhelming military might. Commander Citri won't even have time to react. Besides, I have a secret strategic plan I need to discuss with you privately. Andrew smiled, thoroughly pleased. I like how you think. For those bugs on floors 71 and 72, what real power looks like. Bring Aaron to me this instant. A panicked soldier rushed in with an extremely urgent report. Your Majesty, we have terrible news. The Demon King's army has already set up camp right outside our castle gates. Hearing this, Andro realized Aaron had probably stabbed them in the back, and his second in command immediately demanded battle orders. Miss, order the march. Be prepared, and with one word, we will crush them without mercy. Andro gave a cold command. Move out immediately. Go execute that foolish Citri and that traitorous snake Aaron. Troops advance and wipe out those fools in one strike. Meanwhile, Nan made Ciri put on a special suit of armor for safety. This should protect you from any fatal blows. Behave, I'll reward you with some delicious cake when we get back, because we're about to see Nan's operation kick off without wasting a single second. Jane bowed respectfully, wishing them ultimate victory, as Nan guided Sia toward a massive, glowing teleportation portal. Vice Commander Varuna was already waiting, reporting that Queen Citri had successfully opened up a temporary teleportation gateway, would drop them right onto the 70th floor. Nan noted how Citri was truly going all out to support this alliance. Nan led Sia right into the portal. The very second Nan stepped through, a group of masked figures flew over the walls, infiltrating the castle grounds. Seeing the fortress completely empty, the masked leader scoffed, wondering if those idiots were actually serious. They left their base totally unguarded. Looks like we'll have to teach them a very painful lesson. These were elite forces sent by Andrew's commander, Duncan, with orders to ruthlessly butcher everyone left in the rear. Meanwhile, as Nan stepped onto the 70th floor, Varuna was still anxious about their castle's defense, whispering that Andro had a terrifying squad of elite hitmen. What if they launched a surprise raid before this campaign even wrapped up? But if they thought this castle was defenseless, think again. Just watched Butler Kane absolutely trash an assassin with zero effort. That absurd display of raw power completely shocked the invading strike force. They never dreamed a mere butler could wield such a devastating level of destruction. Holding a struggling assassin with just one hand, Kane calmly remarked that he didn't recall inviting any guests. So who exactly are you? Another intruder went crashing right through a castle window. Just then, Cecily the maid poked her head out, cheerfully announcing to Kane that her area was fully cleared. Leah walked through the main entrance, casually dragging two unconscious, high-ranking assassins behind her. And the rat that snuck into the kitchen was instantly flattened by Chef Magul. Everyone in the castle was perfectly safe. The only ones in danger were the intruders themselves. Nan had known this since the previous Demon Lord's reign. Former King hand-picked these unbelievably skilled fighters to shut down any sudden ambushes. Hardly anyone knew about them because they stayed hidden. At first, Nan didn't care, but their flawless tactical deployment and coordination were so incredible that even he had to admit they formed an absolutely unbeatable defense. Right then, Vice Commander Varuna asked him for orders, but Nan pointed out she was making a huge mistake. The one you should be bowing to isn't me, but the demon King Seer standing right beside us. Varuna bowed, accepting the reality, and turned to Seer for orders, who quickly looked over at Nan. In that case, I ask Master Nan to act as temporary commander. Nan offered a warm smile. If that is your wish, I gladly accept. Meanwhile, Commander Al has already made contact with Aaron. Nan ordered Varuna to go reinforce at them immediately. Then Siri looked up innocently, asking where they were headed next. Hold on tight, because our next stop is straight into Queen Citri's territory. Follow me. We never expected Aaron's troops to be this skilled. On their path, they faced almost zero resistance. Come with me as we watch Baphomet admit Na's network and strategies are absolutely terrifying. He is extremely dangerous. If we act now, maybe we can stop him before, but Citri coldly cuts him off. Baphomet, if that were possible, do you think I'd be sitting here? Don't you dare touch that man. One wrong move and Floor 71 will be destroyed too. We're only here to do our job and get paid, Citri declared. Baphomet bowed his head immediately, replying at your command, Your Majesty. Citri watched the burning battlefield, thinking it was a great start. Soon, Demon King Andro learned Aaron invaded the castle. Andrew was burning with immense rage. This war should have never taken this kind of direction. That wretched traitor, Aaron. Even killing him won't satisfy my fury. If he wants to come, let him come. I'll slash them to pieces myself with this sword. For a moment, a massive explosion shattered the doors. Andro scoffed, saying they've arrived. As the smoke cleared, Commander Al entered alongside Aaron and his elite troops. The castle guards reacted instantly, lunging forward to initiate the attack. Now pay attention here. Al coldly asks if this is how Floor 70 treats guests while Andrew glares. Aaron, do you think you can show off just because you have one of Sale's 4 swords, you bastard? Apart with my own hands. Right then, Al moved like lightning, slicing the guarding soldier in two. Instantly, she firmly blocked the giant hammer thrown by Andro, who mocked her, asking if she wanted Floor 70. Then let me see for myself if you truly have the power to do it. The moment he finished speaking, his giant hammer smashed down again, but Al dodged it with breathtaking reflexes. Andro laughed, telling her she was quick, which was why S's prey always managed to escape him. How will you handle this, then? A moment later, Andro spun and ripped off his own subordinate's head. The horrific scene left Commander Al completely stunned. It looks like things are getting extremely interesting. Then a giant serpent suddenly erupted straight from the decapitated neck of his servant. The abyss-like jaws lunged directly at Al. Meanwhile, Nan reached the platform where Citri was watching the battle. Did everything you requested, and you defeat Demon King Andrew. And calmly replied, Since I am here, of course. Then Nan handed over Sir from his arms, asking her to protect Ciri. Bringing her into battle would leave him with too many things to worry about. Nan knelt down and told Seer, Play with this friend for a little while, sir. I know what you're thinking, but things change instantly when Nan senses an eerie aura that shouldn't exist. He realized immediately that Commander Al was in danger, meaning he had to act right now. In an instant, Nan vanished, teleporting straight to the castle. Unbelievable speed caught even Citri off guard. Just then, one of her subordinates approached and whispered, Your Majesty Citri, this is a great opportunity. But Citri coldly interrupted, Silence, this is a test of my alliance, so don't do anything foolish. Treat Ciri with the exact same respect you show me. Honestly, I like that adorable girl. Meanwhile, in the Grand Hall, Andrew blasted the sub-commander away with his hammer. Devastating impact left a massive crater carved deep into the wall. Andrew smiled evilly. Struggle all you want. This is your limit. I'm ending this right now. On the other side of the room, the giant serpent had Commander Al completely pinned. Overwhelming power made her realize this wasn't a normal demon, but a high-ranking beast near king level. Struggling in vain, Al ran out of strength and closed her eyes in despair. When she opened them again, she discovered that the giant snake was already dead. Al, Nan stood triumphantly over Demon King Andro, looking down coldly. So you're Floor 70's boss. I'm to give you a single chance to surrender. And underfoot, Andro couldn't believe this. The sheer depth of Nan's power completely surpassed anything he had ever felt before. Mana felt exactly like standing before the legendary Demon King #1, Das himself. Andro couldn't understand why someone as godly as Nan would join such a weak, pathetic faction. Nan ignored him, pulling a weapon from his mana vortex as Andrew panicked, begging with money. What do you and I think our protagonist is actually after? Give you everything, Nan asked coldly. The only thing I need is your head, or rather, the highest throne a demon king could ever dream of reaching. His strength was never going to be enough. There is a massive reason why Nan will never forgive him. Someone who dares to touch a power they cannot control does not deserve my mercy. In the next second, Nan swung his blade and took Andro's head. He turned to the crowd and declared, "The war is over. Soldiers of the Demon King Andro, drop your weapons. Your lord has fallen. Surrender now and live. Resist, and there will be no mercy." Meanwhile, Nan's voice echoed all the way to Citri's camp. Citri could not help but mutter. He left just a couple of minutes ago, and it is already over. Well, knowing him, it makes sense. Right then, Seer looked up at the sky with sparkling eyes. "That is my master's voice." Al bowed her head in shame. "Lord Nan, I am so sorry. My carelessness." Nan calmly reassured her. "Do not blame yourself, Commander. You have simply been away from a real battlefield for far too long. Earlier belonged to someone who once ruled the demon world. With his fragmented memories, Nan could not recall who they were, because this crazy event did not even happen in the original game. Nan reminded her, "Do not forget to write that Citri defeated Andro in the battle report." Immediately replied, "Understood. Make sure everyone keeps quiet." And turned around and ordered, "Sub-Commander, take care of cleaning up this mess. I need to go see Seer." Suddenly Nan asked, "By the way, where is the Queen right now?" "She should be with Lady Citri." "What? Alone with the Demon King right now?" Nan raised an eyebrow. "Do not worry," Al explained. "Citri is not stupid. Will not act recklessly." Meanwhile, Citri and her people learned that the soldiers of the 70th floor surrendered. In that moment, Seer noticed movement in the distance. It was her master. The next second, Seer ran happily toward the entrance. Citri, however, had felt absolutely nothing. Shortly after, Nan descended from the sky, landing right in front of her. Looking at Seer, he asked, "Did you have fun?" Citri was instantly shocked. "How did you get back so fast?" "When Commander Al arrives," Nan replied casually, "you can ask her for the battle report. For now, I have something for Seer. Take this." Handed her Andro's head. "It is the head of the Demon King. Hope it brings you the praise you deserve." Master Seer froze. "You're the one who finished him off." Nan simply said, "Either way, Seer and I are leaving first. Remember, the loot is split 50-50. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Butler Kane repaired the damaged gate. Nan returned straight to the castle by stepping through the teleportation portal. "Let's look at this together." The unwanted invaders had finally been kicked out of their home and bowed respectfully. "Congratulations on conquering the 70th floor. Now we must prepare to move the demon castle." Nan shook his head. "There is no rush. Besides, I planned to hand the 70th floor castle over to Citri." Seer asked in confusion. "Master, you were the one who defeated Andro, but you gave all the credit to Lady Citri, not losing out." Kane also commented seriously. "Claiming the castle means formally declaring the conquest. We will give that to Lady Citri too?" Nan nodded. "That is right. More than a castle, we need capital, land, and resources. Our finances are not stable enough to run the 70th floor alone. Before we become truly powerful, I need Citri to handle all the chaos of the 70th floor. She officially rules the 70th floor. From now on, whatever happens there is entirely her responsibility. I have it all planned out. There is nothing to worry about, and I am not someone who lets himself be used or gives handouts. From now on, we focus on Seer's studies and castle affairs, and on top of that, we still need to uncover who was backing Demon King Andro from the shadows." Jane finally nodded. "I understand, Lord Nan. But how were you so sure you would get Aaron's support?" Nan just replied that it was pure luck, though in reality it was just a random event from the game. With the immediate crisis solved, Nan could finally focus completely on training and lessons. At the same time, Seer had to learn what ruling means, since the true owner of this land was adorable Queen Seer, not Nan. "Love it when my master teaches me. The little bear likes it too. Thank you for loving it so much. Seems I made the right choice." Nan wanted to check some papers, but stick around to see how Seer clings to him, refusing to let him go. Let's dive in and see how all that painful struggle finally leads to a peaceful rest. And little Siri, looking utterly helpless, begged Nan to stay and tuck her in for a nap. Refused again, she would truly cry, so Nan chose to help her sleep before returning to work. When Leah arrived, relieved to see her, Nan asked her to take some warm tea to Seer's room, gently asked if she was hurt, and she immediately replied that she was completely fine, thanked him deeply for his concern, and promised to deliver the warm drink without wasting a second. It was clear that Lord Naeon fully understood everything that happened at the castle and their remaining military strength. He inquired if anything had happened to Leah, but Nan calmly replied he just wanted to be sure. Then he looked at the white bear plush in her arms and asked if she slept with it, which Siri confirmed happily. Just as Nan prepared to leave, little Sierra puffed her cheeks and tightly held his hand, begged him to sleep nearby, making him wonder if she clung to him after losing her father so early, or if she truly found in him a safe haven and a deep sense of security. So Nan decided to stay by Sia's side, at least until she drifted off into a deep sleep. Now pay attention here, because the news of Citri defeating Demon King Andro on floor 70 has shaken Dantal. General of floor 69 assumed Citri only won by joining forces with the rulers of floor 72. This meant they were the next target, so they had to prepare their defensive lines with extreme urgency. In a heavy voice, Dantal declared he would write to Decarabia of floor 68, shocking his general, who questioned if they should truly ally. Any better choice? Dantal asked with cold indifference. Even if that man is an unbearable fool, doing nothing makes me the next victim. No more talk, write the letter now. Decarabia cannot refuse. Meanwhile, Leah arrived at Sia's bedroom carrying the cup of hot tea. Stepping inside, she saw Nan fast asleep beside the little girl, being so sweet it completely melted her heart. Shortly after, Citri finished sorting the war spoils and went straight to Nan to deliver her report. Since he granted her the castle on floor 70, Nan's faction now had first pick of the treasures. He warned her that she would be incredibly busy managing the newly conquered territories. She had to attend training once a week. Citri nodded instantly, promising to keep her word. Cleanup after the battle was urgent, meaning Nan had to draft an action plan that very night. Suddenly, a maid informed him that Siri couldn't attend her classes today, and you won't believe why. Hearing the reason, Nan stood up in absolute panic. He never expected Seer to run a fever when she seemed fine yesterday. Did he push her too hard during training, or had the brutal battlefield taken a toll on her? The maid quickly reassured him, telling him not to worry since it was likely just a common cold. Children her age often get sick suddenly. Slowly calming down, Nan realized she was right. Siri was still just a child. Natural for kids to fall ill, but Nan knew he should have expected it. No longer a game. This was real life. He needed to finish his work quickly to visit Sia. Soon he reached her bedside with two adorable plushies. Sia was absolutely thrilled, hugging her new toys and giggling without a care, but that was not enough. Nan had prepared much more, quickly burying Siri under a massive mountain of soft plushies. Sadly, all of that was merely a sweet dream Sierra was having while she slept. In reality, Nan did arrive with a single plush toy. Hearing her soft murmurs, he smiled, knowing she was having a truly wonderful dream. Thankfully, her fever had already gone down, would be completely fine by tomorrow morning. Just as Nan pulled up a chair to sit beside her, Siri suddenly opened her eyes. Seeing this, Nan gently stroked her head, telling her to sleep as he promised to stay right by her side. A sleepy Siri asked if she could read the document, but Nan quickly refused, urging her to rest well today. We can look at it together tomorrow. Right now, your recovery is the most important thing. If you are still sick tomorrow and miss the pudding dessert, you will be sad. Right. The next day, the butler brought Commander Ailes' loot list. Among all the items, there was one specific treasure they absolutely had to retrieve from floor 70. Here is the ultimate key here, and trust me, you and I will want to see what happens next. You and I are about to see how a single hidden item from Nan's 40th ending changes everything. Who would have thought such a crucial item would be hidden on the 70th floor so early in the game? Nan looked at Kane and gave him a serious order. Kane, make sure we secure this gear. We cannot lose it. The rest, take what is useful and leave it to the captain. Kane nodded, understanding the command. But, my lord, are you sure this is the right mark? According to the list, Nan was searching for a shattered, nameless, broken sword. Shortly after, Nan took Siri straight to the storage vault. The moment they walked in, Siri's eyes locked onto the colorful gems, completely dazzled by the shining gold coins. You and I know these treasures were nothing new to Nan, but the others had never seen such immense wealth. The craziest part was that this was only what remained after already distributing the first half of the loot. Just then, the nearby working subordinates greeted Seer, and she warmly returned their respectful greeting. Soon, two workers brought out a box, explaining it was the exact item Nan ordered them to handle with extreme care. Confirm if this is the item you wanted. Nan nodded, praising them for bringing it over. Blood Tear Sword got its name from its embedded crimson gem. Whenever mana flowed into it, the blade looked like it was crying blood. Back in the game, equipping this weapon boosted your growth speed by 5 times. Right now, it offered the highest attack power, and if the user learned a special spell, its raw power became ridiculously broken. Under Seer's curious gaze, Nan handed it over, saying, "This is for you. It is broken right now, but I know how to fix it. Let's finish sorting the loot first, then restore it." The moment Nan promised her it would shine once restored, Siri became incredibly fascinated. While Nan distributed the loot, Siri kept staring at the sparkling gems. Nan told her to just take them if she liked them. After all, everything here belonged to her anyway. Hearing this, Seer picked out a beautiful crimson crown. Clearly, bloodlines do not lie. After picking her items, Nan guided Seer deep into the underground ruins. Nan knew exactly where the fragment was hidden, so the labyrinth of split paths was not an issue at all. Soon he reached a pile of debris and discovered the other half of the broken sword, but that was not all. Only the single most important piece remained to be recovered. Nan unleashed his mana, shattering the debris to reveal a path. Beyond it stood a mysterious gate guarded by a winged stone demon. Hold on, because you and I just need to cross this final gate to see what lies beyond. Sensing intruders, the stone demon suddenly woke up and completely blocked their path. Let's watch how Nan decides to spare its life because it is incredibly rare. Instantly, Nan released a demonic pressure so terrifying that the giant stone beast froze in absolute shock. Humiliated by the massive gap in power, the monster fell to its knees, begging to serve Nan. The massive stone demon could be useful later, so Nan ordered him to wait here until his return. Through the massive doors, Nan finally spotted a mystical red crystal glowing in the center. The magical gem was the ultimate key to fully restoring the shattered sword. Placing the broken fragments before the crystal, the relic reacted instantly, unleashing a blinding flash of light that filled the entire room. The light faded, a stunning sword with a crimson gem floated majestically right before their eyes. Watching the scene unfold, Nan looked at Siri and asked if she liked her special new gift. Seeing Siri hold the weapon so gently, Nan felt a warm, unfamiliar happiness swell inside him. With her new blood tear sword, Seer wanted to train immediately, but Nan, bringing back the demon, terrified Cain the butler. Because of its massive size, the stone demon was completely unfit to patrol inside the castle walls. So Nan decided to use it against invading humans, assigning the beast to guard the portal zone. Pay close attention here, because the cold warning Nan gives this monster will absolutely chill you. If you prove useless, you die. Afterward, Cain guided Nan to his office to deliver urgent reports. Informed him that Dantel was already initiating highly suspicious contact with Decorabia. If floors 69 and 68 ally, defeating them will be tough, which made Nan nod thoughtfully. We will not fight a direct war, but we will not sit still either. We only have one viable option left. Alright, you and I are about to watch Nan plot to destroy Dantel's entire commercial empire from the shadows. Dantel's faction rules through its wealthy merchants, fully believing that cold, hard cash drives their kingdom's prosperity. Nan just smiled, knowing trust is their biggest asset, and their entire massive empire crumbles by itself. But Cain hesitated, pointing out that such a golden reputation took decades of relentless effort to build. They ruin it overnight. Well, Nan replied that he never planned on rushing this anyway. Training Siri and securing their own foundations will take 5 years, the perfect window to slowly sabotage their rivals' economy. They would become their direct business rivals, but operating exclusively from the 70th floor. That way they stay safe. Cain caught on instantly, realizing they would use Citri's powerful name. Not using her, but forming a mutual alliance. Nan corrected, though Cain doubted she would take the risk. Cain had his doubts, but Nan knew this crazy deal would be absolutely irresistible to her. It would sell exclusive goods that merchants would literally kill for items that simply do not exist in this demon world. Before long, a very strange rumor started spreading like wildfire across the human kingdoms. Word was that the demon territory was completely unguarded, making it an incredibly easy target to raid. One greedy mercenary suggested hunting monsters to strike it rich, since demon ram horns were worth a fortune. He aimed to know where their nest was, filled with defenseless young, making the hunt a total piece of cake. His partner jumped at the chance, thrilled at the thought of heading into the shadow realm to get filthy rich. Soon, an entire squad of adventurers, driven by pure greed, gathered right in front of the teleportation portal. Leading this eager crew were two elite powerhouse warriors, boasting an impressive rank A-. Hunters felt completely safe, believing that with leaders this strong, the demon realm would be child's play. Grim warnings that absolutely nobody ever returned. The greedy mob stepped through the portal without a second thought. To their absolute shock, the paths were empty, and the demon sentries seemed to have completely vanished. They figured the demons fled this level, keeping in mind the popular theory that this entire dark world is structured like a massive tower. Right then, they spotted their target grazing in the distance, the peaceful, unsuspecting tribe of half-ram beastmen. Hunters crept forward through the darkness, fully prepared to unleash a ruthless, bloody massacre. Suddenly, the rank A- leader declared that they would take the prime horns, leaving only the scraps for everyone else. Stick with me to see if their blind greed is about to cost them their lives. Unleashing his heavy mana pressure, the other rank A- hunter coldly warned his rival to follow orders if he wanted to stay alive. Faced with an overwhelming gap in raw power, the weaker hunter had no choice but to accept that shameless demand. Fine, Lord Rick, we will leave the fighting to you. Rick sneered, replying he never expected their help anyway. Right at that moment, the entire ground violently shuddered, making it nearly impossible for anyone to stand. Fearing an earthquake, someone panicked, shouting that their targets would easily get away if the shaking did not stop. But a second later, massive, terrifying sting demons suddenly rained down on them directly from the sky. Horrifying sight made even their elite rank A- leaders tremble, as Commander Al coldly ordered her troops to capture them alive. The hunters were utterly bewildered, unable to fathom why brutal demons would capture them instead of slaughtering them on the spot. 1 month flew by, and Al reported to Nan that they had successfully captured and locked up 276 humans. Nan feared the human portal would be a weakness. Al brilliantly transformed it into a hunting ground to meet their goals. Nan would do whatever it takes. In this game, human lives meant less than insects, and showing mercy never brought any real benefit. And so, Al warned him that lowering their guard to lure the humans inside was starting to lose its effectiveness. Humans caught on. Nan nodded, wanting more captives, and this is where you and I get to see their brilliant pivot. He knew anyone skilled in mind control, and Al confirmed there were plenty of creatures who could do it. Nan smiled calmly. For the grand finale, we will make them walk right in of their own free will. Soon after, a survivor claiming to have escaped the demon realm stumbled trembling into the local adventurers guild. Desperately, he cried out for help, claiming he had barely escaped with his life from that hellish dark kingdom. With everyone captured, he begged the guild to launch a rescue mission to save his comrades trapped in the abyss. Alright, stick with me because S. rank Guildmaster Adalbert just stepped up to ask a massive question. Why do demons want humans alive? The man immediately snapped back, saying he had no idea, and asked how Adalbert could doubt someone who barely survived. Adalbert coldly replied that if he said he had no doubts, he would be outright lying to his face. It is unbelievable for a C rank to return alone and alive, but the strangest thing is how your heartbeat just suddenly spiked. You sound just like every liar I know. How funny that your pulse calmed down the second I called you out. Besides, I can smell a filthy presence on you. Demon is controlling your mind right now is not it. Instantly, the imposter drew his blade and tried to launch a surprise attack directly at Adalbert. He praised the S rank for being sharp, but in the blink of an eye, Adalbert sliced him clean in half. He moved so fast that nobody could react. Adalbert coldly ordered Angela to send an immediate warning to every guild. No one is allowed to cross into the demon territory. But right then, a panicked messenger burst into the hall. Bad news, he shouted. The Northern Alliance has already gathered its warriors, and they are preparing to invade demon territory. Adalbert's face darkened. A bunch of absolute fools could not have expected anything smart from those meatheads. Meanwhile, far away in Babylonia, the capital of the Holy Nation, a massive subjugation army began its march. You and I are about to watch the real war unfold under their commander. Days earlier, Commander Al informed Nan that all the mind-controlled humans had successfully been released into the outside world. Nan ordered her to send a group to Sorte in the Holy Nation, since a very troublesome target lived there. In the game, certain humans were known to be extremely annoying enemies. One of them was the Sort Guild leader, who also happened to be one of the top Imperial assassins. Thanks to their recent strategy, they lured tons of adventurers into the demon realm and successfully captured them all. Under the subcommander's orders, soldiers used mana nets to trap the invaders, backed by a massive, powerful stone demon. Against the overwhelming power of this giant beast, almost no human could withstand his devastating attacks. However, he was strictly forbidden from killing anyone, except those who tried to escape at all costs. Soon after, Commander Al prepared to launch mana nets at the enemy lines, ordering an immediate joint attack. A massive net deployed right over the cornered adventurers. The nets trapped anyone with ease, made of giant spider silk that was virtually impossible to break through raw strength. Meanwhile, an A-rank Holy Knight fights the demon. Let's watch closely and see how this intense clash ends. Enemy leader immediately ordered his men to force their way through, since their numbers were still massive. Subcommander worried that the stone demon might lose track of some targets amidst all the chaotic fighting. Because of that, he asked Al for direct permission to personally take charge of the area. Getting approval, the sub-commander transformed into a powerful Asura, leaping down to instantly crush the leading Holy Knight in one shot. Witnessing such absolute slaughter, everyone instantly abandoned any crazy ideas of trying to force their way out, threw their weapons down, and tried to run in terror. But by then, it was already too late. The sub-commander ordered his soldiers to play with them a bit before locking them up, and soon news of the victory reached Nan. Nan sincerely thanked everyone for their outstanding efforts and returned to his office, where Seer and his butler Cain had been waiting for quite some time. Nan told Cain to leak info to the demon merchants. They would keep the 200 most valuable prisoners and release the rest. Cain froze up in pure shock. Release them after all that work. Really going to negotiate with humans? Nan calmly replied they would squeeze every single penny out of them. Cain frowned and offered a cautious warning. Give my bluntness, but it is too soon. Strength is limited, and we should not trigger a war against humanity. Nan explained that they needed to closely monitor several key human nations. First is the Holy Kingdom of Alix, the only religious state, and second is the Bismarck Empire, ruled by a crowned emperor. And finally, the Northern Alliance, made up of 7 massive northern fortresses. Big threat to average folk. But refusing talks is foolish since they cannot deploy a full army right now. First of all, they invaded our land. The blame lies entirely on the human side. And trust me, you and I know that if they refuse a peaceful ransom, they will lose their people's loyalty instantly. Stick with me, Sia seriously asked if things were that bad, and Nan warned her to never forget this. Demon King, protecting your foundation is everything. King bowed submissively, saying, "Understood, Lord Nan. I will choose them purely for their commercial value," Nan declared, adding that they also needed highly talented blacksmiths. They were needed to craft special items for sale. Soon the Bismarck Empire's emperor received their ransom demand. Staring at the paper, he coldly declared that he had never once received such an insane demand from mere demons. He always believed the entire demon realm was nothing more than a cheap playground for human adventurers. One minister noted the situation was different, as the demons did not seem obsessed with invading the human world. Otherwise, those simple-minded beasts would have already declared an all-out open war against us. The minister replied they demanded 50 kilos of gold, 100 of silver, and 2 tons of iron for every 10 hostages. Now pay attention here, the emperor sneered, thinking the demons were completely underestimating his power. He wanted to teach them a lesson, but his minister urged him to pay for the sake of their citizens. The mess was entirely caused by the reckless actions of the Adventurer Guild. No reason to fight. The emperor frowned, muttering, "Who cares about justification? They are just demons." The minister gravely countered that it was crucial, since they could not measure the demon kingdom's true military might. Many elite high-level warriors went in, yet not a single one managed to escape that place alive. Every single one was captured. The Emperor exploded, roaring, "Are we not a mighty empire? We honestly expected to bow our heads and let these beasts trample all over us." The minister warned that if rumors spread that the crown abandoned its people, public rage would tear the empire apart. The ruler finally ordered his men to accept the ransom deal immediately, intelligence gathering on the demon realm, swearing they would get their revenge sooner or later. Soon, Kane reported that while one nation remained silent, the Bismarck Empire and others were ready to talk. Holy Kingdom and Northern Alliance agreed to terms, and the trade would happen at the designated spot tomorrow. Clearly mapped out the exchange spot in our letter. Khan nodded, satisfied. Messengers that if they do not reply by the weekend, we will handle the remaining prisoners ourselves. Meanwhile, the legendary dwarven blacksmiths, summoned by Nan, finally arrived at his massive castle. They never expected to see Queen Seer and Citri together. Honestly, you and I are both dying to see his master plan. Bet you are all wondering why I gathered you here. Citri then pulled the sheet off the rack, revealing a gorgeous collection of human weapons. Take a close look. The dwarven blacksmiths immediately stepped forward, completely fascinated by the craftsmanship. Citri explained they belonged to human adventurers, and Nan added that was exactly why they were summoned. They needed to study these human weapons and duplicate their quality, but one proud dwarf immediately complained. He argued they were just copying human trash, but Nan coldly told him to shut up and get to work. He demanded they stop wasting precious resources on mediocre gear, and honestly, the guy made a great point. Looking them dead in the eye, he asked what would happen if a human sword clashed with their own creation. Not want cheap copies, but to study human techniques to forge far superior weapons of their own. Suddenly, one confident blacksmith stepped forward, boldly accepting Nan's challenge with absolute confidence. He admitted that analyzing human forging would take time, prompting Nan to ask Seer and Citri for their thoughts. He asked if he could make him the project leader, and neither of them had any objections. So Nan officially put him in charge, giving him an elite badge of authority to command the others. He immediately started protesting, loudly demanding a democratic election instead of an appointment. Nan frowned, shutting them down by stating that true leaders are those who step up and take responsibility. Since none of them had the courage to step forward earlier, they had zero right to complain now. Defying their new leader was exactly the same as directly challenging the authority of both demon queens. Anyone who dared disobey would be executed instantly. Afterwards, Citri looked up, clearly waiting for Nan to praise her. Nan praised Seer instead, totally ignoring Citri, his favorite. So let's jump into the high-stakes game as Nan begins negotiating the massive profits of this new business. Since Citri only offered her famous name without doing any actual work, her share of the profits shouldn't be high. Demanded 50% of everything, deeply disappointing Nan and Siri. Honestly, that wasn't a negotiation at all. It was highway robbery. Realizing Nan would just find another partner, Citri quickly folded, settling for a mere 10%. Let's be real, even that 10% was still a massive payout for Nan. Business is risky, and the costs of raw materials are always shifting. Intense rounds of bargaining, Nan ground her down to 5%, which was still an incredibly massive fortune. Standard weapons meant nothing to demon kings, leaving their military research and development lagging far behind. Demons were incredibly skilled blacksmiths, but a single demon king simply couldn't oversee and manage everything alone. This is the exact reason why high-quality military gear was so vital. Once the contract was signed, Nan dropped a bombshell. Her actual profit was the weaponry itself, leaving Citri utterly speechless. She argued that allies should get their gear for free, but Nan remained completely unbothered. Absolutely not. And if this venture tanked, Queen Citri's reputation would be the only thing ruined. Trust me, in this ruthless world, absolutely nothing comes for free. Terrified prisoners huddled in the dark dungeons, whispering to Ellie not to lose her faith just yet, but hope was gone, led into weeks with zero rescue, while more captives were thrown inside. She wondered with absolute dread if they would escape alive. Right then, Nan and Kane stepped into the dungeon to inspect the list of prisoners slated for transfer. One glance was enough for the humans to realize Nan was different. His aura oozed heavy, suffocating pressure. Moments later, guards began dragging selected captives away, sending the duo's panic into absolute overdrive. They had no clue where they were going and feared imminent execution. Suddenly, Nan stopped right in front of them, demanding their names, revealing them as Dan and pink-haired Ellie. When Nan asked if they knew someone named Luke, they immediately confirmed their allies had taken him away. Nan immediately realized this was the very suspect who had been operating actively inside Sorte City. Nan quickly grabbed a pen and paper from Keem and began sketching the man's face in vivid detail. The moment they laid eyes on the finished portrait, they gasped, confirming it was indeed Luke. Join me as we witness Nan discovering that Al actually brainwashed Luke to send him to this city. Realizing his incredible stroke of luck, Nan decided to bring these two humans straight to his office afterwards. In this world, top-tier human warriors were just as dangerous as the legendary Demon Kings themselves. Humans' hostility spiked too high in this game. 3 massive heroes would be summoned. Luke was the legendary sword hero, but the Guildmaster executed him for being a puppet. Nan never expected that. He accidentally eliminated a massive future rival, while Luke's brilliant companions, Dan and Ellie, remained completely ripe for the taking. Seeing them as mere slaves is an absolute waste, so Nan ordered them to follow him, prompting a heavily confused Kane to question his sanity. Can't bring humans near Demon Queen Seer, it will only trigger an absolute devastating catastrophe. Nan claimed he had his brilliant reasons and asked the trembling humans directly what they wanted to do. Accept, and I'll spare you and treat you according to your high worth. Or you can always refuse. Go back to your dark cells. Dan gritted his teeth, asking what fate awaited them down there. Nan calmly replied that they'd be sold off as cheap slaves or end up dead like Luke. Dan snapped in pure rage, shouting that Luke died because of him. Nan didn't deny it, but clarified that the actual killer was the guild leader of Soot City. We hired him for a job and that man executed him, impaled instantly at Adalbert's name. Serving a demon king was totally unacceptable to Dan, but Ellie stepped forward and spoke up softly. She asked if they'd truly be spared, then accepted instantly, leaving Dan completely shocked and speechless. He yelled if she was crazy for trusting a demon, but we both felt her bitter, desperate response. No cash, you are ignored. No power, despised. And let's watch how she flips the script on everyone. Do you even remember how they treated us back then? I refused to die, and I definitely won't become a slave. I will grab this chance, even if it means dealing with a devil. Hearing Ellie, Dan grit his teeth and decided to stay. So keep your promise. What do you want us to do now? Nan calmly replied, start training right this second. As you are now, you are completely useless. I will give you 3 years. Fail and you have 0 future. The next day, Nan took Seer outside for swordsmanship practice. Thanks to her inherited memories, she actually had decent talent. The only problem, Seer was still tightly hugging her little white teddy bear. Nan explained that if she did not drop the plushie, she could never train properly. After thinking, Seer set the bear aside. Being willing to let it go even briefly showed her absolute trust in Nan. Siri whispered to her plushie, Teddy, I will be back soon. Please wait for me here. As training began, Nan showed her how to hold the weapon. Surprisingly, Seer nailed the perfect stance on her very first try. Next, Nan gave a demonstration, swinging the blade down with intense force right in front of her. Siri copied the move. Now pay close attention here, because just as she was about to strike, Nan instantly used his mana to shield her. A second later, a massive blast of energy erupted toward the distant wall. Seeing such crazy power unleashed from the blood tier sword, even Nan was left completely speechless. It seemed to work totally differently from the game version. It looked like future lessons would require wooden swords. Siri spoke up calmly. Master, I need to tell you something. Some humans entered the castle and saw a girl with them. What do you think they want? Nan clarified that he had taken those 2 humans in, but they would have to get stronger on their own. The only one he would train personally was Seer. Pouting, she retorted. That is not true. You also teach Lady Citri. Business, Nan explained. Having a good relationship with her will bring you massive benefits. Stared and asked, Master Nan, you will always be my teacher and nobody else's, right? Of course, you are my only disciple. Siri's face lit up with pure joy. So you think so too, Master? Right then, the butler, Kane, leaned in to whisper to Nan that Siri's birthday was just around the corner. Over the next few days, Nan seemed distracted around Citri. I know what you're thinking. but she noticed and asked him to speak. Maybe she could help out. So Nan confessed that Siri's birthday was coming up, but he had no idea what to get her. Hearing that, Sitri smiled with total resignation. She thought Nan and Seer had fought, wanting to use this chance to pull Nan away. Then she suggested giving Siri something she liked, like plushies or cake. Nan wanted to prepare something far more special. That way, he would make Seer happy, raise her affection, and get closer to the perfect ending. Siri loved shiny things. Nan remembered she had taken a crown from the warehouse earlier, but it was way too big for her to wear. Sitri had the solution, suggesting they get a craftsman to resize it. The only catch, inside Seer's bedroom. To surprise her, they had to sneak it out. Maid Cecily volunteered to join the mission. Since Siri went to the dining hall to eat pudding, this was their perfect golden opportunity. However, just as they were about to open the door, Seer suddenly came running from outside. Turns out Seer had sensed Nan's manner earlier, literally a hair away from ruining the entire surprise. Nan quickly made up an excuse, claiming the weather was nice and he wanted to take her for a night walk. The rest of the plan was up to Cecily. Looking up at the full moon outside, Siri's eyes sparkled with happiness. Nan realized Seer truly adored shiny things. The remodeled crown was definitely going to be the absolute best birthday gift. Nan told her gently, "Siri, grow up healthy. Anything gets too tough for you, tell me right away. Do not have to overwork yourself." Siri sincerely replied, "I like you and your lessons, so it is no trouble." Nan smiled warmly. "I'm glad, but if you feel unwell, let me know. Resting is just as vital as studying." Nan genuinely wished that Seer would keep that innocent heart forever. Right then, Cecily signaled from the window that she succeeded. Nan grabbed the crown and rushed to the 70th floor with the blacksmith. He asked him to shrink the crown proportionally, and I cannot wait to see her reaction. Come along with me as we see Seer's gift finally finished, getting everything ready for the big party. Back at the castle, Nan found two maids comforting little Seer, gently assuring her that her master would return very soon. They offered her pudding to make the wait easier, but the little girl refused completely while crying bitter tears. Right then, she felt Nan's presence and immediately ran to find comfort, throwing herself happily into his arms. Nan asked her what was wrong and why she was crying. The maid explained that when he left silently, the terrified little girl thought he would never return to her. Gently apologized, explaining he only stepped out to handle a quick matter and was truly sorry for not telling her. Nan's sweet words of comfort, the little girl finally began to calm down. Seeing her tearful face, Nan promised he would never abandon her and would protect her until she was all grown up. All right, stick with me, Nan froze, knowing a perfect ending here was his only ticket back home. He didn't share that painful truth, so he warmly promised her he would never leave, or to stay forever, completely unaware that little Seer had already seen right through his lie. Sensing her master would eventually leave, the young girl made a silent, firm vow to hold on to him. She had to do whatever it took to keep him close. Soon her highly anticipated birthday finally arrived. They looked absolutely radiant like a real princess, and everyone in the castle had prepared amazing gifts. Now watch closely, the little princess couldn't wipe that beautiful, sweet smile off her face. Meanwhile, Sitri arrived with her followers to present a gorgeous golden statue crafted just for the birthday girl. Little Seer happily accepted the beautiful present, absolutely delighted by such a precious gesture. Right then, Nan brought out his custom gift from the blacksmith, which Seer had been eagerly waiting for. In the box, the sparkling crown inside made her eyes light up with pure joy. The blacksmith had actually resized that massive royal jewel to fit perfectly on her tiny head. Once she put it on, her cute look charmed everyone. At the feast, Nan carried her off to rest. Thanks to her intense training, Seer's white hair slowly started turning into a vibrant red shade. This meant her external mana was finally stabilizing. Then, Nan noticed something very strange on her head. You're going to be shocked by this, but parting her hair revealed she was actually growing horns. Panicked, he asked Kane if something was wrong, but the advisor just stared back in complete confusion. He reminded him that it's totally normal for a demon lord to have horns, just like Lady Sitri. Hearing that, Nan finally let out a sigh of relief, glad to know she was completely fine. Gently touched the little nubs, but Cain quickly warned him to be careful since they are extremely sensitive. The next day, let's watch what happens next as Nan takes Seer to inspect these newly replicated human weapons. Come along with me. Smith was shaking, terrified Nan testing the sword himself would fail. But Nan gently calmed him down. He reminded him that failure is actually the best teacher for growing and improving down the line. Gripping the hilt, Nan noticed its weight and metallic gleam felt exactly like a high-grade human sword. Telling Seer to step back for safety, he swung down hard, slamming the blade against the human weapon on the table. In absolute shock, the blacksmith's blade didn't have a single scratch. This test was an undeniable success. Nan smiled, pleased, noting that a quick polish on the edge was all it needed to be fully complete. Ordering the rest of the gear, he made sure to tell them he had massive expectations for their incredible craft. Soon whispers spread through floor 69. You and I know rumors of bizarre weapons on floor 70 travel insanely fast. An advisor told Duke Wayne they shouldn't buy into cheap gossip without seeing some real concrete proof first. Someone else insisted it wasn't just talk, claiming these locally made weapons actually rivaled the best human steel. First guy scoffed, laughing it off as cheap smuggled goods, yet the supply was way too small to support any actual long-term trade. And that's where we'll leave things. Ready to see what the Duke uncovers on floor 70. See you next time. All right, you and I are about to watch a massive power move. Citri stepped up, welcoming everyone who traveled far for a mere rumor. Spotting Seer in the crowd, one merchant realized having the Demon Queen herself in attendance was completely unexpected. The alliance between these two powerful demon queens was no longer a secret. Clearly, Citri wasn't running this show alone, making this whole deal something everyone needed to handle with extreme caution. Citri swore on her name as Demon Queen that these weapons were hand-forged by her, matching human quality in every single way. For a Demon Queen to put her entire reputation on the line showed absolute confidence in her product. Non-men chimed in, stating they would only share details with those genuinely ready to do serious business with them. Don't intend to buy, you can walk right out that door immediately. But if you stay, get ready to trade. Buy nothing. Don't expect to leave this room alive. Just like that, hearing such a terrifying threat, many merchants chose to leave right away. Those who stayed hoped to seize this golden opportunity to win favor with the powerful demon queens. Now pay close attention, because Nan stepped up, revealing he planned this entire deal, completely shocking everyone in the room. In short, this guy had partnered with two demon queens. Locking eyes with Duke Wayne, Nan offered him two massive proposals. First, the weapons trade. For the next 3 years, you get exclusive rights to sell our gear across the demon realm. Split is 60% for me, 40% for you. It was already an incredible deal. Nan pointed directly toward the exhibition table. Left sword is human-made and the right is ours. Go ahead, compare them yourself. Examining the newly forged weapons, the crowd showered them with praise. Craftsmanship was simply legendary. Getting exclusive rights to this for 3 whole years was a massive steal. Duke Wayne asked how much stock they'd receive. 400 swords monthly, Nan replied. That meant only 20 per merchant. Someone frowned in doubt. Isn't that way too low? Nan nodded, agreeing, but explained that their military stockpile went far beyond swords. We will trade almost any kind of military gear with you. Right now, that includes swords, spears, axes, shields, helmets, and full sets of both heavy and light armor. Hearing this massive variety, they realized it was enough for a huge project. Wayne then asked about Nan's second proposal. In the game, Wayne was the actual president of a giant merchant guild. His high status and talent were undeniable. For Nan, winning him over was the ultimate smart play. Let's follow him, because Nan is now leading these merchants straight into the dark depths of the dungeon. Pointing to the prisoners, Nan revealed humans captured from the 72nd floor. Someone immediately protested, accusing him of slave trading. Nan calmly responded that this was his second proposal. He had already hand-selected the most useful humans among them. A chance like this won't come around again. Any catch your eye, take them right now. Even as slaves, humans were incredibly difficult to control, and most demons utterly despised them anyway. For those holding real power, things were different. These humans represented a literal gold mine. In the end, after weighing the pros and cons, only 5 interested merchants remained. Being the perfect number, Nan kept explaining the uses of these selected humans. Pointing to one group, he said, they were labor. They handle hard labor. These others are meant for pure entertainment. They look decent enough, and those over there are guards. Combat skills rival any human knight. Right then, a captive slammed the iron bars furiously, screaming, "You dirty bastards! Don't think I'll ever serve you. If you have guts, kill me now." Nan feared taming humans was tough, would break out eventually. Nan had already planned ahead for this exact issue. Very next second, a brand suddenly glowed on the rebel's neck, while he continued screaming insults. Suddenly, a terrifying burst of energy erupted from the mark, ending his life in an instant. Nan calmly explained he placed an active curse on every slave's neck, with triggers customizable by the buyer. Still have doubts? We can also add an extra layer of mind control. Soon after, at Bennett's 69th floor shop, the merchants who fled realized the replicas he bought were of absolute top-tier quality. And trust me, they actually tried buying them for double the original price. Come with me as we watch how Bennett locked down the contract, making sure those weapons were only sold through him, strictly banning any resales. Meant top-tier merchandise like this was about to be completely monopolized by him. So Bennett spread word of the auction to high-ranking demons, knowing the powerful always crave expensive new toys. Before long, an invitation to this exclusive slave auction made its way straight to Nan, and decided to attend in person. After all, things were quiet at the castle, and he could bring those two humans along with him. A few days later, over at Bennett's shop on the 69th floor, Nan strolled around with Seer, browsing the glowing items, while his two human companions whispered anxiously behind them, "Really a demon king? And why bring us?" Just then the owner rushed out to greet them. "Welcome, Lord Nan." "We are just looking around," Nan replied, before asking if they carried any rare magical items. The merchant quickly guided them toward the very back of the shop. Pay close attention to this part. Though the owner was shocked to see humans with Nan, he was quickly reassured and led them into a hidden armory. Staring at the display, Dan and Ellie could not hide their absolute shock. Were all of these actually magical artifacts? What is more, they all looked premium. Nan glanced over, telling them that if they saw anything useful for their research, they could pick one. Ellie's eyes lit up immediately. "Really? Can I keep this ring?" It turned out to be an artifact designed for storing mana. Since humans do not produce mana, it was perfectly safe. Nan caught a quick flash of jealousy in Sarah's eyes, so he knelt down, gently patted her head, and asked if she wanted something too. Instantly, she pointed out the flashiest necklace in the room. Nan inspected it and approved, with a built-in protective barrier, designed to keep whoever wore it completely safe. Nan then ordered the owner to find proper items for Dan and Ellie, promising he would cover the entire bill later. Nowhere, Nan suddenly asked how much time they had left. "Out right away," the merchant replied. "We should arrive just in time." Meanwhile, down at the auction, a human slave was put up for bidding, starting at just 5 gold coins. I know what you're thinking. And yes, Dan and Ellie instantly realized Nan brought them here as a warning. Leveraging auctions to control the supply chain showed just how deep Nan's strategy went. Suddenly, Seer pointed at their two human companions and asked why they were not putting them up for sale too. They would surely fetch a handsome price, but Nan answered her patiently, "Because I need reliable subordinates too, just like you have Leah and Cecily by your side. Some tasks are best handled by humans." Seer nodded seriously, trusting him completely, while Nan turned to the couple. "Regret accepting my offer?" Right then, both of them were staring down at the miserable slave trade taking place. If not for Nan's intervention, they would likely be standing on that stage themselves. So they both declared that joining him was the absolute best decision of their lives, which pleased Nan greatly. 5 years flew by, and Seer's magical control improved dramatically. Seeing her, Nan praised her relentless efforts to master her mana. "How about we change our classroom today? We going somewhere fun?" Seer asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Nan replied that while it might not be fun, it was definitely going to be an indispensable lesson. That very day, the renewed 2-year weapons contract was set to expire, so the merchants approached him to renegotiate. However, Nan felt absolutely no obligation to give in to their demands. They now had their own distribution networks and did not rely on old partners. Plus, other merchants were getting restless. Maybe it was time to bring in new partners, forcing the current ones to offer much better terms. Seer agreed solemnly, saying her master was right. Monopolizing is not wise, though they could still offer some preference. Nan nodded. Meanwhile, news arrived that the human kingdom was in pure chaos. with war officially erupting between the Northern Alliance and the Bismarck Empire. Given the situation, they could temporarily ignore human affairs and focus all their strength on their own faction. That was not his real motivation. He looked at Seer, asking if she remembered their original plan to completely destroy Dantelion's credibility. It was finally time to begin. Nan did not hold back, telling the merchants straight to their faces that he would not renew their exclusivity deal. They made enough profit over these past 5 years, and trust me, you and I do not want to miss his next move. Start here, we just need this nasty rumor to spread even further. In exchange, we will hand over more prisoners and slaves. Bennett had to ask if Nan's intel was actually real. Nan calmly asked if he was seriously doubting his word, especially since they already shared so much mutual trust. Bennett just stayed silent for a long moment. Spreading this would make Dantalion an enemy, but breaking ties with Nan right now would be absolute madness. He wondered why they focused so much on them with other partners around, but Nan claimed it was all about earned trust. Besides, they risked everything for profit. Bennett finally agreed, admitting they simply could not pass up an opportunity like this. Their deal with Nan was crucial for business. With the negotiation finished, the merchants packed up and left. Right then, Citri questioned if Nan's information was actually something they could trust. After all, Dantalion was always extremely careful with his business. He complained about not being able to visit floor 72. It is all because of that terrifying girl. Glares like she wants to kill me. Soon after, on floor 69, the Demon King Dantalion saw his weapons business accused of falsifying sales numbers. It enraged him, but think about it, who leaked that intel? The weapons trade had always been one of Dantalion's main pillars of power. Lately, with high-quality gear from floor 70, his sales had taken a massive hit. Piles of weapons were stacking up in his warehouses with zero buyers. Yet, instead of cutting production, Dantalion cooked the books to make it look like everything was completely sold out. Even while losing money, he forced himself to keep his network of clients active. With this news exposed, it looked like he was planning to run away with all the cash. The subordinate quickly said, "Your Majesty, we will find the source of this leak immediately. More urgent, the blacksmiths are demanding we pay off our debts right now." Dantalion did not have enough actual cash left to pay them, so he ordered them to quiet the merchants while they sold off assets to raise fast cash. Right then, the general advised against it. Demon King Andro failed with his army precisely because he ran out of funds. For a brief silence, Dantalion coldly ordered them to contact Decorabia. "Before we get swallowed by those below, we will borrow money and cling to someone stronger." News reached Nan soon enough. It was exactly what we were waiting for. Siri curiously asked how he knew about the weapon-filled warehouses. Nan smiled, saying they had those two humans to thank for the tip. It turned out to be far more useful than expected. "Do not tell me you doubt your master's judgment." At that, Siri lowered her head, embarrassed. "Not what I meant. It is just that you pay too much attention to them lately." Nan smiled gently, teasing that she was still childish despite growing up. "No matter what they say, I am still your master. Anyway, the relationship between floors 68 and 69 will collapse soon." "Siri, what do you think?" She answered very seriously. "I believe that information is perfect for sowing chaos." Nan nodded, quite pleased. "Exactly. That is why I want Commander Al to handle something. Could you call her in?" Shortly after, Commander Al entered the throne room. Nan informed her that Dantalion had asked Decorabia for help. "Floor 68 will send a delegation to floor 69. They meet. It is bad news for us." Then Siri spoke slowly. "That is why I need you to intercept them." Nan handed his sword to Al, asking the commander to use this exact weapon. "This sword does not belong to us. Materials and inscriptions show it was forged on floor 69. Understood immediately. So it is a setup. Another clever scheme by Nan. Got down on her knees right away. Complete the mission and offer success to your majesty. Right now you look like a true leader." Siri looked at Nan. "Did I do well?" Nan warmly replied that she did wonderfully and already seemed like a real demon king. "Then what will my reward be?" Seer asked instantly. Nan thought about it and agreed to grant her something. "What kind of plushie do you want this time?" Hearing the question, Seer turned serious and rejected the toy. She turned around, annoyed. Nan froze, thinking the exact same thing you and I are. Is this her rebellious phase? Shortly after, at the teleportation portal between floors 69 and 68, Al gave them a quiet warning. "All right, stick with me, because in this mission we cannot reveal our identities or use our real powers. Members, everyone takes out two. and Vice Commander Varuna and I handle the rest. It's going to be tough, but if we do it ourselves, nobody will trace this back to us." Moments later, a group clad in black started emerging from the teleportation portal, one after another. In a flash, Commander Al leaped from her hiding spot, cleanly decapitating several men in black with one single strike. He immediately ordered the full assault, giving the target group zero time to react to this sudden, brutal ambush. In the end, everyone was wiped out in record time. Word quickly reached Dantalion, Demon King of Floor 69. Since the Floor 68 squad was dead, they had to warn Decorabia right away. Worst of all, the swords left at the scene were forged on Floor 69 itself. Dantalion knew Decorabia would spot the puppet master, but he still wouldn't let this slide. Quite the opposite. He would use it to squeeze Floor 69, turning their alliance into a forced tribute. Furious, Dantalion roared, gnashing his teeth. "This is Citri's doing. Send a letter to Decorabia this instant. Prepare everyone for war. Make that miserable Citri get on his knees and beg for mercy." Just then, the tension explodes as a soldier reports that the enemy army has already crossed the teleportation portal. This meant he was planning to completely subjugate Floor 69. Moment, Dantalion's men suspected that Decorabia himself had masterminded this entire plot from the start. Enraged, Dantalion mobilized his troops to halt the invasion. Meanwhile, on Floor 72, they delivered the news to Ciri. Floor 68 has successfully invaded 69. Hearing this, Ciri smirked, noting it was exactly what her master had predicted. Non calmly said, "Ciri, let's handle this. Our chance to profit while both sides tear each other apart is finally here. Ready the troops. We'll strike amidst the chaos the moment Floor 69 and 68 clash. We'll not fight them head on, we just need to harass them and fully distract Decorabia's massive army." "Understood, I will get on it." Nan nodded back, leaving the rest in her capable hands. "One more thing, Commander Al. Evacuate all the merchants from Floor 69 over to Floor 70. The reason they gathered on Floor 69 was simple. It offered great security, and they were treated exceptionally well. Recently, Dantalion backstabbed them, and now Floor 68 had officially joined the fray as well. It was the perfect chance to shatter their trust in Dantalion, right when Floor 70 is about to offer merchants better deals. Al asked if they needed Citri's permission. Didn't object as long as effortless gold kept rolling in. You can imagine, Al realizes that Dantalion is going to destroy himself. "Leave it to me, I will proceed as planned." Commanders left. Ciri suddenly smiled. When Nan asked what was so funny, she admitted she just had a brilliant idea. Ciri suggested seizing Floor 69 while distracting Decorabia, but Nan frowned at how risky that was. In the end, they would still clash with the main enemy. Ciri looked up, begging him to let her join the battlefield. "Finished my studies and mastered most of the ancient magic you taught me." Hearing this, Nan shut her down instantly. "Still not your time to enter the battlefield. You must grow stronger first." This upset Ciri, who felt fully matured while her master still treated her like a little kid. Honestly, with Seer's current power, almost no lower floor demon king could even stand against her. Still, she was just a child. If she badly hurt or died in battle, all of Nan's efforts would completely crumble. Because of that, Nan gently comforted her, asking her to be just a little more patient, promised that when they eventually strike Floor 68, he would lead the charge himself. Seeing her down, Nan offered to grant her any wish once this was over. Hearing that, Ciri's eyes lit up with excitement. "Really, Master? If so, then I want to go on a trip with you." Nan realized they had never actually gone out just to have fun, so he happily agreed. With his approval, Seer was so incredibly happy that she literally started dancing with joy. And that is where we leave it, seeing Ciri unable to sleep, too excited to be with her favorite person. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where our female lead must end a war just to stay with her beloved master. To make that happen, she decided to take matters into her own hands, even if she had to play the rebel. The very next morning, Seer straight up demands that Commander Al take her right to the front lines. Now, Al knew her swordsmanship was incredible, especially when combined with Nan's formidable ancient magic. Thinking it over, the commander makes a tough choice and completely rejects her request. He apologizes to Her Majesty, insisting that his troops must carry out this critical operation completely alone. Master Nan did not want her fighting. He had a good reason. Seer just glares at him. She coldly asks him who he truly serves. Command is absolute, and her decision is already made, joining the battle right now, promising the commander that she can protect herself perfectly fine. In her heart, she begs her master to wait for her, promising to find him. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Dantalion, king of floor 69, is desperately defending his walls against invaders from floor 68. His archers line the ramparts, raining down a relentless storm of arrows onto the enemies below. Pinned down by the volley, the invaders cannot advance, allowing the defenders to fire up their massive mana cannons. Watch this terrifying strike. Enemy troops retreat in pure panic. This rate, breaking this defensive wall is absolutely impossible. A commanding voice booms across the field, ordering everyone to fall back. Out of nowhere, a massive warrior in golden armor starts slicing down the incoming arrows like they are nothing. He even takes a direct hit from a mana cannon, yet blocks the blast with his bare arms. This beast is Balthazar, a 5-star general of Decarabia. Just seeing him sends the defenders into total panic. Even though Dantalion screams out orders in absolute rage, his paralyzed troops can barely move. He curses them as useless trash, spitting that hired mercenaries are never worth the money anyway. Taking action, Dantalion raises his hands, summoning a massive green magic circle high up in the sky. Suddenly, an explosion of roaring hellfire completely swallows Balthazar, leaving the general is ash. Dantalion orders his men to open the gates and launch a counterattack. They truly thought defeating a 5-star general would finally give them a chance to turn the tide. This is where things take a terrifying turn. Without warning, a massive golden sword suddenly appears, impaling the defending general straight through the chest, brutally fast that the man dies without even seeing who hit him. Then, Balthazar slowly steps out of the smoke, boasting that the hellfire was just a pathetic tickle. You really think that weak power put you on our demon king's level? Dantalion grinds his teeth. Would be dead without that armor. But Balthazar sneers, boasting it is a gift. You cannot even scratch it, blame your own weakness. But suddenly, a cold shiver of danger hits him. In an instant, a colossal boulder drops from the sky straight toward him. Fortunately, he reacts in time and barely dodges it, crashing to the dirt. A mysterious voice remarks it is a pity he dodged. Dantalion is absolutely shocked. What is the Demon Queen Seer doing here? Looks like she is here to help, but she never acts without demanding a price. Seer looks down and speaks slowly. You are 5-star General Balthazar, right? Stands up, smiling, honored that she actually knows his name. Demon Queen of Floor 72 want here. Seer answers calmly. I have business here and you were in my way, so I came to erase you myself. Cocky Balthazar just laughs. That arrogant fool is making the ultimate mistake by trying to steal her territory on Floor 72. Meanwhile, Seer channels the mana gathering in her red hair, focusing her will to ignite magic at her fingertips. A split second later, a terrifying flaming skull appears, floating right in front of Balthazar's face. Goes into total panic. Can she cast magic without a vocal chant? Damn it. The attack has not even hit me, yet my armor is already melting, stronger than Dantalion. Even so, you and I both know his cocky attitude is about to get blasted away. You and I are starting right as this fool underestimates our female lead. But before he can finish, Seer blitzes him. In a single blink, she cleanly takes his head off, calmly sheathing her sword like it was nothing. Too boring, she thinks. But to Dantalion, this is terrifying. His eyes couldn't even track her lightning speed. On cue, Commander Al arrives with her troops. Hearing that Lady Seer defeated Balthazar leaves Al completely stunned. Her mistress had actually pulled off the impossible, but Al warns her that war with Floor 68 is now inevitable. Why is that, Seer? Calmly asks.
Wipe them all out. Nobody knows, right?
The enemy's entire army. The other 5-star generals definitely know by now. Seer thinks fast and decides they will frame Floor 69. Will claim we were just passing by when Demon King Dantalion begged us for help. A chill runs down her spine, but she shrugs it off, issuing a cold order. Watch closely here. She decides to eliminate them all, then threaten Dantalion just like her master taught her. Commander Al, I leave these soldiers to you. Goes instantly, accepting her cold command. Draw your weapons. Order of Her Majesty, we are wiping out the enemy. Up on the walls, the confused defenders have no idea what is happening. Only that Floor 72 came to save them. Meanwhile, an insane amount of monstrous magic begins to gather once more in Seer's hand. She aims right at the massive wall, and instantly, an overwhelming pressure wraps around the entire fortress. Dantalion screams in sheer panic, demanding to know why she is attacking them. Seer just glares coldly. You and this castle would already be dust. Dantalion laughs bitterly, begging her to stop joking. I can easily dispel a cheap trick like this myself. Suddenly, he realizes his own mana is completely frozen. His blood runs cold. Could a mere kid already master high-level sealing magic? Seer sneers, telling him to struggle all he wants. Either die under the rubble or serve me. In exchange, I will fully protect floor 69. Dantantian truly realizes the terrifying power of this young queen. Maybe this is a golden opportunity. Dantalion gets on his knees, swearing eternal loyalty to Sia and promising to follow her. He nods, highly satisfied. After sealing their alliance, they head to the war room. Al approaches her, whispering a concerned question. All right, let's pause for a second. Al asks if she is sure about ignoring Master Nan for the first time, claiming that as a demon queen she handled the entire situation pretty well. Even as she speaks, Seer is still trembling slightly. Suddenly, Nan throws open the doors to the room, searching for her frantically everywhere. He had finally tracked down his stubborn student. Seeing his dead serious expression, Seer panics and immediately tries to explain why she went rogue. But before she can speak, Nan pulls her into a tight, fierce hug, whispering that all he cares about is her safety. Hearing his gentle voice, Seer completely breaks down, crying as she repeatedly apologizes to her master. She admits she never should have run off alone, especially after Cain warned Nan about her disobedience. That's why he raced straight to the battlefield to make sure Ciri was safe, wondering if he had failed her. After all, this was the very first time Seer had ever dared to disobey his direct orders. Anything had happened to her out there, Nan would have never been able to forgive himself. Relieved to find her completely safe, Nan calms down. Demon King Dantalion starts mocking him to his face. Nan absolutely snaps, releasing a suffocating aura that forces the smug Demon King to back down and get out. Turning to Ciri, Nan demands a full explanation of her actions, and she quietly defends herself. I only wanted to help, which is why I took action. Honestly believe I handled things perfectly. I made no mistakes, successfully avenged floor 69, and even took down a 5-star general. Nan admits she did well, but warns that her burden is far too heavy to be taking reckless risks. I do not want you showing your full strength yet. Your true power hidden is our ultimate advantage. The less they know about your abilities, the better. Since we are already here, we will make this work. So this is the treaty with Dental. You and I will have to see how they absorb those merchants. All right, you and I are about to see how Demon King Dantalion becomes a mere figurehead, Nan said calmly, aiming for a clean end, while Sierra immediately asked with high hopes if he would accept. Nan sighed, agreeing to her request, but insisted they had to deal with the 68th floor first. Knowing Decarabia would not sit idly by, Nan turned his sharp gaze towards Dantalion. Resuming the meeting, Nan asked Dantalion if he knew the total strength of Decarabia's forces. 25,000 infantry, 5,000 cavalry, he replied, and over 1,000 magic soldiers. Hearing those massive numbers, Seer shook her head, but after a moment, Dantalion finally understood. Because of today's fierce battle, their army was cut in half, leaving them with only 15,000. Seer nodded in agreement, while Nan wondered how to fight this war while keeping their base safe. That was when Seer suggested calling Lady Citri for backup, but Nan strongly disagreed with the idea. It would trigger an all-out war with heavy losses. Seer hung her head in guilt, but Nan comforted her, told her to treat this as a valuable lesson. Before everything went smoothly thanks to Nan's deep gaming knowledge. Now, the original plan was completely off track, forcing him to step up and handle this mess himself. Meanwhile, at the 68th floor castle, news arrived that General Balthazar had fallen along with half their army. Demon King Decarabia was absolutely furious, mocking them for calling themselves 5-star generals with such pathetic results. Is this the trash I get for trusting you? He roared as his terrified subordinates immediately begged. They pleaded for one more chance to eliminate Dantalion, to which Decarabia coldly gave his reply. Fine, but bring me that brat's head too. Soon after, 3 worried generals gathered to plan their next move. They had only talked big earlier to save their own skin, and now they had absolutely no plan. To make matters worse, the enemy side had an incredibly formidable warrior like Commander Al. After debating, they chose to strike first, relying entirely on their massive advantage in numbers. Suddenly, a scout rushed in to report that the enemy was already marching to attack them. Just hours earlier, Nan arrived at the front lines with Commander Al. Feeling extremely anxious about everything, was not sure they could win without backup, which deeply shocked the seasoned Commander Al. You and I know Lord Nan always had perfect plans ready, and he understood this very well. Brace yourselves, because this time things were looking bad, and he felt he still did not fully understand Seer. Al questioned why Her Majesty Seer would take such a massive, reckless risk. Nan replied it was the fastest way to avoid casualties. Horrified, Al asked if he was heading to the front lines completely alone. Nan shook his head, explaining he would not be alone, but accompanied by 2 humans. I know you do not trust them yet, Commander, so today is their big test, Nan said, staring at the youngsters. He wanted to see if saving them was worth it, though deep down, Nan still harbored an uneasy, nagging doubt. If he defeated Demon King Andro so easily before, it was only because he had studied his weaknesses. He knew his own power, but not his actual limits, which is why he strictly forbade Seer from joining this battle. He was absolutely certain that after this, he would not get another chance to test his limits. Just then, the 2 humans reported detecting enemy troops over the hill, warning that the path ahead was packed with soldiers. Hearing this, Nan ordered them both to react and adapt as the situation developed. Then he calmly added they would go greet them. Meanwhile, spotting the movement, 2 enemy generals reached the valley. But get this to their shock, a single man was walking right toward them. They immediately suspected a clever trap, deciding to hold their ground and send a scouting squad to investigate. However, Nubia dismissed their worries and decided to act on her own, spreading her wings to charge forward. She sneered and called them useless cowards, asking how much longer they planned to sit around doing nothing. One man face him like me. Watch closely as I show him the true terror of a harpy. Closed in, Nan chanted a spell, and instantly countless stone spikes erupted from the ground, impaling Nubia. And trust me, you and I can see she had absolutely 0 time to react. Alright, let us dive into this battle, where even in his final breath, he could not believe he died so easily, sending the other panic-stricken generals into absolute chaos. Right after that, a truly terrifying amount of mana began to erupt from Nan's body. The next second, a massive beast made of pure energy loomed behind him, and Nan gave a direct command to Leviathan, "Clean this place up." Once, the colossal beast known as Leviathan charged straight into the chaotic battlefield. Unleashing devastating power, Leviathan swiftly began to wipe out the enemy soldiers. Under his fierce assault, the terrified enemy troops scattered, completely lost inside a massive cloud of dust. Amidst the chaos, the enemy general watched in complete disbelief, having never witnessed such a destructive force before. I know exactly what you are thinking, and yes, seeing this made Dan and Ellie feel they did not even need to interfere. Their worth, they had to move. So Dan gritted his teeth and leapt straight off the cliff. At that exact moment, Ellie used her wind magic to give her partner a massive burst of speed. Thanks to that magical buff, Dan closed the distance with the enemy soldiers in just the blink of an eye. With his speed and strength boosted to the max, he easily took them out in a single strike. Furious at mere humans interfering in the fight, one general activated his skill. In an instant, his body expanded massively, transforming into a towering dragon. Confronted by this terrifying beast, Nan drew his sword immediately, delivering a fast, precise slash straight to the monster's belly. Right then, Seer appeared behind Ellie, asking about her master. Staring at the mighty Leviathan that Nan had summoned, Seer began to clap, completely in awe. "Maybe one day I will be that strong too." Ellie quickly replied, reassuring her that as a great demon king she would not expect a human to be so good at flattery. Seer replied while giving her a cold look. Ellie timidly asked if Nan knew she was here, to which Seer confessed she had come in secret just to see him. Narrowing her eyes, she asked why she even cared. Ellie apologized instantly, bowing her head in fear. "I spoke out of turn," she admitted, wondering if she felt something weird for her beloved master. Hearing that, Ellie panicked so badly that she dropped to her knees to deny it completely. Just then, Nan asked in surprise what she was doing there, and she happily replied she came to welcome him. Nan had already wiped out any threat that could ever endanger Seer, so this This was the perfect chance for her to gain combat experience in the nearly empty castle of floor 68. Here, go with your commander and finish the job. And trust me, you two did an absolutely amazing job as well. Let us see how those 5 years were not wasted, as crucial missions are waiting for you now. Rest for now, we have conquered floor 68 and only need to find that special item. Very soon, under Sia's brutal assault, the Demon King was defeated, completely disappointing Siri. Did not expect a Demon King to be so weak, but Commander Al reminded her of their immense power. You mastered the sword and ancient magic. Nan even learned those rare spells. Mentioned to this moment because Al reminded her that Master Nan wanted Decorabia alive before Siri choked him out. He nodded, saying that as long as she did not kill him, everything would be fine, right? For long, Decorabia ended up completely broken, muttering gibberish that nobody could make sense of. Even Sia did not expect a Demon King to be so fragile, so she looked at Al and told him to handle it. If my master finds out what I did, I am absolutely sure he will hate me. Things get pretty funny because Master Nan burst in, cutting their chat short and forcing them to act cool, though he instantly got suspicious. Looking right behind them, he calmly asked if that guy passed out on the floor was Decorabia. Do not lie to me. You made a mistake. It is best to admit it with complete honesty. Seeing the prisoner's pitiful state, he sighed and told Siri that although she went way too far with the beating, would not blame her since he was still breathing. Commander Al could not help but ask the reason for keeping such a demon alive. Did not seem like someone who would yield like Dantalion. But Nan replied with total calm, I am not sparing his life, I am just using him. Siri, have you ever heard of starstones? Siri nodded, confirming they were a specialty on this floor, while Nan planned to cross-reference this with Crowley's info. And that is how you and I find out that only the Demon King knows the location of that valuable mine. Let's dive into this madness, because to interrogate the Demon King Decorabia, Nan actually had to keep him alive, and deeply, highly doubting they could actually brainwash a powerful Demon King just to extract valuable information. On cue, Citri arrived, claiming she heard they needed her unique ability. Talk about a perfectly timed entrance. Complained that Nan never trained with her anymore, even admitting she dropped everything just to run here. Hearing that, Seer shot her a gaze so terrifying it made Citri's heart skip a beat. That familiar hostility was back. The stare from Seer was the exact reason Citri had been keeping her distance from Nan lately. What if using her power in front of Seer made her lash out and attack right there? Though Citri practically begged Nan to kick Lady Seer out of the room to let her focus on the spell, leaving Nan with no choice but to make her wait outside. Siri looked totally confused, wondering how Citri could locate the mine when she only specialized in raw fire magic. Nan explained she possessed a secret unique skill capable of making any man who looked at her fall madly in love. But of course, this little trick had no effect on opponents who were much stronger than her. Now, watch closely here as Citri exploits Decorabia's weakened mental state to extract all the details on that precious mine. With a sweet voice, she promised to soothe his pain even if it hurt slightly, instantly winning his absolute gratitude. Decorabia answered while completely hypnotized, allowing Citri to confidently reveal the treasure's exact coordinates to Nan right after. Right after, she boldly asked him if she would be getting a reward for her massive help, and promised her a share of the ore, on the condition she takes public credit for conquering floor 68. Citri's eyes sparkled with greed, dreaming that she might also inherit the castle waiting on floor 68. Nan shut that down quickly, explaining he only wanted the outside world to believe she did it. Claiming an entire castle without losing a single soldier would be incredibly shameless, don't you agree? Citri quickly apologized for the mix-up, realizing that the demon kings on higher floors would definitely hunt her down. Nan reassured her by offering half of the extracted ore as compensation, which instantly fired up Citri's motivation. She agreed to take the risk, and Nan shook her hand to finalize this highly lucrative deal. Nan promised to call her if he needed backup, but right as they shook hands, Siri suddenly stepped in to stop them. A massive deal of this scale should be handled directly by the Demon Queen Siri herself. However, Siri's cold look towards Citri had completely shifted, causing Citri to quickly make her escape. Bet you and I both felt that tension. Nan turns to Seer and asks if she wants to handle the war matters first. Should I take charge of this first? Seer replied with a deeply serious tone. Since she is a demon queen, after all, Nan leaves her in control while he heads out to inspect the mine. Back in her room, Seer nostalgically recalled just how long it had been since she last held his hand. She knew she was no longer some helpless child, and though her beloved master might act different now, on this solo trip she planned to hold his hand as much as she wanted. Meanwhile, Nan had already guided the massive stone demon straight to the hidden mine. He needed the stone demon's unique skill to scan the rocky terrain and pinpoint every valuable mineral with absolute precision. He knew a golden bracelet was hidden here, though he did not fully understand its purpose. If it was buried here, it had to be for a reason. Developers even hide it. Was it some developer prank? Regardless, the sheer amount of resources left to excavate was still absolutely massive. No wonder Decrebia managed to fund an entire empire using just this single massive mining deposit. Now half of that insane fortune belonged to them, and had to carefully plan his next move. News of Floor 69 being conquered would alert the other kings, forcing him to rapidly build a massive army. Pushing forward without taking casualties was going to get brutal from here on. The demon spoke up, sensed something highly unusual nearby, prompting Nan to instantly blast a powerful spell right into the solid wall. Just as he hoped, he extracted an ancient golden bracelet from deep inside the solid rock. In the original game, this mysterious accessory was known to drastically boost development speed. He had no idea how that effect translated to reality, but then he realized he still had not withdrawn his massive mana. And that's where we leave it. But tell me you and I didn't just witness an incredibly tense cliffhanger. Nan quickly apologized to the stone demon. My bad. From now on, I will control my mana better. Come with me to see Nan take Ciri to sign with Dantalion. With the blood pact sealed, Dantalion could never hurt our beloved Ciri ever again. Nan stared him down and declared from now on, you will receive our updates constantly. Since you were a demon king, I trust you can handle this. Afterward, Nan praised Seer for acting like a true ruler. Now they just had to repair the demon castle on floor 69 so they could move in. With the major business out of the way, it was finally time for them to prepare for departure. Wanted a quiet place with lovely views and few people. Nan nodded, promising to find it by tomorrow. Rest up for today. Just then, Nan pulled out the bracelet he had obtained earlier. This is for you. As she held the bracelet, a beautiful, happy smile lit up her face. She moved. She promised to wear it forever. The next day, Nan brought her to the human world. But pay attention here, because Nan had already ordered Dan and Ellie to infiltrate the human world as adventurers beforehand. Since they were heading to completely different locations, they both felt pretty anxious about the journey. Nan knew it would be tough, but nobody in that place could possibly recognize them anymore. So he warned Ellie just be careful not to get involved with trash for no reason. I know, she replied. I'm not that stupid. Nan handed her a small object, saying if there's danger, crush this, it's an alarm. If you break it, my necklace breaks too. Resigned, I don't go looking for trouble. Go wrong on such a peaceful mountain. Right then, several bandits suddenly surrounded her. Ellie looked them over closely and couldn't help but comment, you guys don't look like real bandits. One of them explained, with the kingdom in this miserable state, we really have no other choice. Don't you know what happened in the sacred kingdom? The higher-ups have completely lost their minds. They destroy entire villages searching for hidden demons. Ellie clarified she'd been stuck on the mountain for 5 years. The man sighed, you poor thing. You must have suffered terrible trauma and lost your memory. Come with us. We'll take good care of you. If the Holy Knights heard you talk like that, they'd definitely arrest you for being a witch. Turns out, and this is going to blow your mind, the Grand Temple declared that those disappearances from 5 years ago were caused by hidden witches infiltrating the human world. Because of this, the Holy Knights started raiding entire towns hunting down these supposed witches. They burned villages to purify them and kidnapped children. The adventurers were now just pawns under their orders. Ellie sensed something was deeply wrong. Those Holy Knights were acting without a single shred of clear evidence, and yet the adventurers let themselves be manipulated like that. The man smiled bitterly. You still don't get it. This is the sacred kingdom, where everyone must blindly obey the Pope's orders. Meanwhile, in the temple, the Pope left his bath. The woman looked at him and asked, what took you so long? Investigation. Pope replied, just like you said, I searched the whole nation and demon claws are everywhere. All thanks to you, she replied calmly. Pope, you are the one working hard for your nation. He smiled warmly, thank you. You're the only one who appreciates my effort. And trust me, that mysterious woman's name was Lily.